I want to start out with what you two wanted to be when you grew up, when you were a child.
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
Ladies first.
Okay. Man.
It's always safe.
I don't think I really knew that the answer to that question growing up. I had the nickname of being Mama Paige as a kid. I'm one of 14, number 6 in between 2 sets of twins. So I'm the middle child. And we're not Catholic. And no offense if anybody is Catholic.
Yeah.
We weren't Catholic. My dad was
We weren't Catholic.
I mean, because that was always like the next question. People would be like, "So, are you Catholic? Are you Mormon?" And we're like, "No, we're Christians." You know,
they just like to have babies.
They just have a lot of kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think I really had like when I grow up, I'm gonna be this. I just knew that. I kind of just wanted to do something, and growing up, that kind of translated into like when I went into high school. I did a lot of things. I was like president of my class. I was homecoming queen. Like, so everyone kind of thought like you're gonna do great things. But at graduation, I was like, I don't really know if I want to go to college, you guys. Like, I think I'm gonna go to AmeriCorps. And my parents were so supportive. They were like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. They never. And I got irritated with my mom once because she was like, I never really worried about you. Like, whatever you want to do, it's fine. If you want to go to college, you want to go to college. Like, you just always kind of had a plan. And so, yeah, like, I didn't really have aspirations of what that would look like. I mean, I did get like a CNA certification in high school, and I worked and thought I was going to be a nurse. And I went to this expensive private school, and then that didn't work out because I sucked at organic chem, and it just, but you learn. So I don't know if I answered
What's AmeriCorps?
AmeriCorps it's kind of like the Peace Corps, but it's local. So it's like within the United States, and you basically go like you're assigned to a certain like specific area, and you have an assignment. And so that assignment can be like growing potatoes and then like helping people within the local community to, I don't know, with like a school program.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, like Parks and Rec.
Projects and stuff like that.
So it's volunteer.
It's volunteer.
Okay.
They called you Mama Paige.
They did. They called me Mama Paige.
And did you think that you were going to be a mama and just focus on that?
I knew that I wanted to have.
Be a stay-at-home mom?
I mean, I just knew that I wanted to have a family. And I never looked at being a stay-at-home mom as like a negative thing.
Yeah.
Like I really always looked at that as a blessing, really, because to be able to have kids and to be able to just like foster them is just, I learned that from my mom. And I thought it was a really cool thing.
Your mom was a stay-at-home mom, I'm assuming.
She was. I mean, she did a lot of things. Yeah,
she's not gonna be able to go to the office every day.
Well, I mean, she tried. Like
really?
Oh, yeah.
So she has her degree in Spanish, and so she would teach, and it was just kind of like a mixture of things. Like when my youngest brother was a baby, she was like, I'm going to finish my degree because she didn't finish. So she finished with 14 kids. She finished her degree.
Wow.
And then she was like, okay, so I'm going to like figure out this whole teaching thing. And nothing ever really stopped her. Like if she was determined to do something, she did it. So kind of got that from her.
I was going to say, I see that trend in you.
Yeah.
So why college?
Why college?
If you wanted to be a mom, why college?
Well, I mean, I went to college because I wanted to pursue nursing at the time.
Okay.
So I was very intentional with that. Like, I mean, that's a whole story in itself. I called the college that I thought I wanted to go to. My parents wanted us to go to a Christian school for the first 2 years. They're like, I don't care where you go, but like just 2 years, give me a Christian university. So I picked one. And I remember like calling the school and being like, hey, I'm thinking about this school. And the counselor was like, this isn't really how this works. Like normally, like we have, like,
how this works.
No, not at all. Like we normally have like, sessions and you would come and show interest and then we would pursue you as a guidance counselor. And I was like, well, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't even really know if I want to go to school. So I just want to know if this is like an option. And I ended up going to this like private Christian school, sight unseen, which was very like strange because, normally you go through the whole, like I visit with my parents and but I was like, no, we're good. And the counselor, I really do give credit to my counselor because I still keep in touch with him and his family to this day. But he was driving through like Atlanta and stopped. I'm from Augusta, Georgia. So he like passed through and stopped at Augusta. And he was like, hey, I'm going to be in Augusta. You want to like grab ice cream? Like me and my wife are going to be passing through here. And I was like, yeah, I can drop by like after work. And that kind of really was like, okay, yeah, this is good. It was in Nashville, Lipscomb University where I went. And I was like, this is okay. I could do this. Like I could meet people and, like it could be fun. So I did it.
How long did you stay?
I stayed
at college.
I stayed for the 2 years.
Okay.
And then I left, and then I transferred to like I went to then like three
Georgia
or four
Southern.
different schools. I went to Georgia Southern. I went to Augusta State. I went to a bunch of different schools.
Yeah.
And then I didn't finish because it was just so exhausting. And by that point,
It was exhausting.
it was. And I was like, what am I doing this for? And I really had the confidence in, and not to sound prideful in this, but just if I want to do something, like I can do it, and I don't really need someone to tell me what I can or can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that early on, like I would meet people and they would be like, I want to hire you. I just want to hire you because I think you would be great with this. Like I got a job at the school, at the private school or the Christian school, working in admissions, like on the spot. Like the first week they had like this kind of it's like a welcome week. And the head of the admissions was like, I just had a conversation with him and he was like, do you have a job? Because I really want to hire you. Like, I think you'd be great.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I need a job. So I did it.
That's a good attitude. When you said that about, you were real quick to say, but we're not Catholic. I met a guy who just recently, who comes from a big family. And they would get the same thing. Well, are you Catholic? And the dad would say, no, we're passionate Protestants. Would you put? You've already said you're Christian, so maybe it's Protestant. But would you put that your family was also passionate?
Oh no, we
Like
didn't use that.
Zealous.
We didn't use
Protestants?
those adjectives. No, it was just kind of.
Well, were
We're just
you
Christians.
were you just like Sunday Christians,
Oh,
Christmas Christians,
well, no.
or was it like a really
no.
meaningful
my dad
thing?
was a preacher. Yeah. So my dad was
Okay,
a preacher.
here we go.
I'm a preacher's
There we
kid.
go.
I'm a preacher's kid, and
PK.
yeah. I'm a
So
PK.
this was a massive part of your life, is what I'm
Huge,
getting at
huge
here.
part of my life. Yeah, it was huge.
Their life was centered around it.
Yeah.
In Augusta,
was
like-
Augusta,
very much.
Georgia.
Did
Yeah,
you say?
well, no.
You said it
So-
was centered around
It
it. Is
was.
it still centered around it?
It still is. Yeah,
Yeah,
very much so.
for sure.
Well, I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
it was when you were a child. You're obviously not living in your parents' home anymore.
Yeah, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah,
But
no.
for your
It
parents,
would've
they're
been-
still going strong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad's not preaching anymore, but I mean, they're still very active in the church. And I would say that hands down, I learned, so there's this term that a college professor taught me called your parents are your skin gods. So, and by that, it's like when you are growing up and you're kind of trying to figure out the world and seeing what things look like, the first place that you see that emulated is through your parents. And so that kind of becomes, you come to this point of like tension when you grow up and when you mature. And it's like, well, do I want to continue to follow the same track that my parents did, or or not? And so I'm just really grateful, and I mean I count that as I just have so much gratitude in the fact that I saw what it looked like to model the Christian faith, and not just church on Sundays, church on Easter.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we can't go to church because there's a storm. We're gonna have a family devotional. Like,
Okay.
it was a part of my everything, like
Yeah.
everything.
I want to dig into that. But first, Derek, what did you want to be when you were a kid? When you were 10 years old.
Yeah, 10 years old.
10-year-old Derek.
10-year-old
10-year-old
Derek.
Derek.
That was. Ooh.
I was just gonna say we.
First
have
of all, when did
almost
you
10-year-old
meet
Derek
him?
over there.
How old was he when you met him? Or when y'all met?
15.
Okay.
16.
16.
16.
Yeah, you're 16.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was 16.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was 16 when I met her. At 10 years old, I don't remember. At 10, I don't think I had figured it out yet. Everybody wanted to be lawyers. That was like the thing. And at one part of the year, it was 10. It depends on, I think Michael Jordan was still big during that time. So I wasn't very good at basketball, but I could play, and I had a basketball goal at my house. So it was like, then I have a better chance than everybody else because I had a basketball goal, and they had just the mobile ones had just come out. So, and I had one. So I wanted to be a basketball player at that time. That didn't last very long. About high school, my first year of high school, I attended this Future Leaders of America or something like that. It was like this conference, and I heard this guy come, and I'd never seen a man in a suit before, except for at a funeral.
Right.
So I was man in a suit. I was like, he has a suit at lunchtime. It's weird. I grew up in Mississippi. Mississippi, it's not country. It's not city either. It's bigger than Nashville, but it's not as it's bigger than Nashville. I grew up there, and just it was kind of weird. People, you either wanted to be a basketball player, a rapper, or you wanted to be a street pharmacist. That was like the thing. That's the neighborhood that I grew up in. And my sister was just about to go to medical school. And she was like, you should go to this conference. You're going to hear this dude speaking. He's going to talk about this stuff. You should just go. It was at her college. And I go, and this guy, meet this guy. And he was like, hey, have you ever heard of stocks and stuff like this? And I was like, no, I've never heard of this before in my life. Like, what is this? And sure enough, I heard it. And I was like, I want to be a stockbroker. And that's what I wanted to be until I got to algebra. And I was like, well, maybe numbers aren't, I like math,
I
but
like math when I'm counting money, but I don't like
not
it otherwise.
this other stuff that y'all are talking about. This doesn't, like, why? I don't want to do numbers just for the sake of, arithmetic I don't want to do that. Like, I want to do it based on something specific. And they were like, well, it doesn't work like that. You got to learn the fundamentals. I was like, well, I don't know if I want to be a stockbroker anymore. But that was the thing for a while. Yeah.
You guys both, you see what's happened here? You both, at some point, you seem to be really good at self-analyzing and saying, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm in this math class. I don't want to be a stockbroker if that's what it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
You were real with yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of times people shove that negative off to the side and get into a denial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he figured it out before you did, though.
Yeah.
You were in
Yeah.
college.
I knew right away.
You were in college and you asked that.
Yeah.
No, college wasn't really something that I was even considering. At the time, I knew because my sister was always in school. Like, she was always studying, always doing something different. And it just, to me, it just seemed exhausting. Like, all the time, she's studying for the MCATs, and she's like 6 months, she's in these books, and that's all that she's doing with my niece, and trying to manage a house. And I was just like, that's crazy. Like, I don't want to do that. School isn't fun to me. Like, I don't necessarily like going, and I wasn't very good at spelling. And I told my teacher, I was like, how long do I have to take spelling tests? And they were like, well, it depends on the school. And I was like, well, if spelling tests exist in order for me to graduate, I'm probably not going to graduate because I don't like spelling. Like, it wasn't my thing. They're like, you're gonna be okay. But no, my sister, like, she spent so much time in it. And I was just like, I'm just not very interested in it. I like to work. I was thinking about this the other day when I was trying to figure out where did this entrepreneur like spirit come alive in me. And a lot of my granddad worked in a coal factory, but on the side he also did. He was a junk man, so he collected junk on like the Sand. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Sandman. Anyway, it's just, I think it's an old show. Sanford and Son.
Oh, yes.
Sanford, I said
yeah.
Sandman, not Sandman. Sanford and Son.
Yeah, we've heard that one.
That was a real thing.
Somewhere, but I don't
Never
know.
seen
Yeah.
Sanford and Son? That's like
No,
a
I have
classic.
seen it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was my granddad. So
Okay.
he had chickens and stuff. Like, he still had like farm animals at the house, and like he did all of these things. Just like on Saturdays we would go there, and he would have a new project. I'm going to collect this tin. I'm going to make something out of it. He was just always doing something outside of his 9 to 5. Exactly. everything else on the side was extra. 9 to 5 was money from mama, and then everything else you could do,
Money
you could
from
play
mama.
with it. It was play money. And sure enough, I saw that, and I was like, man, like that's cool. Like I want to be able to build something. And he was always building things. Around ninth grade, my family had a few small businesses, and I started getting involved with it. And they're like, hey, what do you want to do? I was like, hey, I want to wash cars. And it was the first time I ever earned money. It was like a Saturday. And it was a Saturday, and my mom was like, well, you can go and do this. You go get all your supplies, and you're good at washing cars. You like cleaning things. You're good at that, put up a sign. And we were busy all day long. And I was like, I don't want to go to school next week. I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And sure, like that didn't. My sister was like, no, you're going to school.
That's
You're going to school.
How old again
And
were
that
you
was
at this point?
I was probably 13.
13.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I'm done.
Did
with
you express
school.
that to your mom? I don't
I
want to go to
did.
school.
Well,
What'd she say?
My mom was like, well, I expressed to my sister. And I expressed to my sister because my sister is like 12 years older than I am. And it's just me and her.
Yeah.
So she's like, my mom worked a lot. So it was like me and my sister a lot of the time. And I told my sister, like, I want to do this. And my sister was like, well, you can do this, but it has to be when you're not in school. So if you want to come over, after school, you can come over after school, but you're going to school. Like, you still got to do those things. She was very much she was my mom worked a lot. So my sister, there was a separation between, my mom was just a worker. Like, she just worked, and if you want to go to school, you go to school. As long as if you know how to work, I'm okay with you working, as long as you're doing something. But my sister was like, no, you're going to do both. You're going to get education, and if you want to work, you can work. So yeah, we did that for some time. And and that's, so it kind of flip-flopped back and forth for a while. And I learned a lot of trades during my teenage years. So in high school, when Paige was trying to figure out all this stuff, I was still just trying to get through high school. I was just trying to graduate. I was working. High school, I had to go and get a permit from the Secretary of State, which is like a permit saying that you can work when you're 15. That permit thing.
I had to do that
Yeah,
too.
and I had to get approved from the school, and I was
So
like,
weird.
why do I have to go to the school to get permission to work? Because I knew the school was going to be like, no, your grades are horrible. You don't need to work. But they did, and one of the guidance counselor was like, I think this is a good thing for you. I really do, if you want to work. And
What was
sure
her
enough,
name?
The guidance counselor, Mr. Lennox.
Oh, there's a Miss. There's Mr. Lennox
Mr.
and
Lennox.
Miss
and,
Santiago.
Miss.
Okay,
she
well, you
still
guys worked
remembers
the
that.
same. So you grew up in Mississippi then?
Oh, no. I grew up in
No.
Georgia.
I moved to Georgia.
Okay, you moved
Yeah.
to Georgia,
Yep.
and that's where you met her. Because I'm like thinking,
Yep.
I'm like, I didn't know she lived in Mississippi.
Yeah, no. I moved to,
No.
my sister got married, and her husband is in the Navy. And so he was stationed there. And so she moved, and I was in Mississippi at the time. And, she was like, I'm going to be moving. And I was like, well, I'm going. Like, there's no way my sister's going to leave without me. She's my older sister, but I'm her big brother. Sure enough, she moved, and my mom was like, I think you should go with your sister. And I moved and lived with my sister. So,
Are you guys still close?
me and my sister?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my...
You kind of looked at me like, you crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
Is
sister.
it like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is she a doctor?
She is not. She's
Scientist.
a scientist.
Scientist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
What did your parents want y'all to be when you grew up?
I don't think my parents had any real hard
Yeah.
things for me. My dad really was about me going to college though.
yeah.
So
I was
it
gonna
really
say
That's where
didn't
I'm going
matter.
to
It was
say.
just like, you just need to get your degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at my dad and at this point, I mean, because I had gotten jobs working for really great companies, and I was like, why do you think that I need this? I'm making a full-on salary. I don't
Yeah.
actually don't need to go to college.
Right.
I was like, everything that I've learned, it's, I learned it, and I don't know if it makes sense to continue to have debt.
Just for
going
the
to college.
sake of
Why,
having
Just
it.
for
what
the
would he
sake of
say?
having it.
What would he
Just
say
for
when
the
you
sake
said
of-
Well,
why?
he was just like, well, you just never know when you're going to need it. And, but that's my dad, he's an engineer. He's an electrical engineer. So it's like that, and I think, and also just that was his mom was a nurse, his upbringing, and even with his siblings, it was very much you've got to get your
There's like
degree.
a
You
stigma,
gotta-
I think, with
It
their
is.
generation,
Yep.
Absolutely.
too, that like you go to college.
This is what
Yes,
you do.
yes.
Yeah, because I was the same way. I didn't want to go to college,
Yeah.
and that it happened during a reunion that it came out that I didn't want to go.
People be pulling their
Everybody
side.
sat me down
Yeah.
and let me know that
Yeah,
I needed to go to
intervention.
college.
Yeah.
Like, there's something wrong with you.
It
I was
is.
like, okay, I guess I'm going to college.
Yeah.
Are you using your college degree?
That's what everyone always says.
I mean,
Or
and
did
like,
you get a college
honestly,
degree?
No, I didn't.
No, it doesn't sound like-
it's
okay.
it's still active. We're still chugging away at it.
Are you really? So
I
you're
am.
still going at
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I've not since we've been farming. I've kind of left it alone. But yeah,
Left it alone.
yeah, I had to.
Own beast.
I was just doing it for the sake of just
To have the piece of paper.
I
Have
did. That's why.
I have to say there
That's
is
right.
okay,
Okay.
so there is something to having a degree.
Sure.
Because when you fill out things, it's like your level of education.
Yeah.
right.
And you can check that off,
Yeah.
and there is and I not
But-
that it's saying it's right,
Yeah, yeah.
but there is like when somebody looks at that, they're like, "Oh, they did that."
Yeah.
But is it
I-
worth it? That moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I mean,
I
but
think-
I've always been optimistic in that because I've said, well, but if you look at my experience based on our
Yeah.
resume, it would
Yeah.
supersede wherever I
supersede
went.
the-
yeah, because
Because anybody can go and sit in a
Anyone can
classroom
go and
and
sit in
check
class.
boxes.
There
Yeah.
was a.
Do you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
It's
I told
broken.
Paige the I get it. And while we're talking, as we're like trying to mentor the younger our younger generation as they're coming up, whenever we're like, hey, I'm not against college. I think college is for people that know my sister knew what she wanted to be.
Right.
And guess what? You
Right.
can't do this without
right.
this.
And that's how I
You need to
feel.
go. Like, if that's what you really want. And she knew, I want to be a doctor. And then she learned that she did not want to be a doctor. She was like, well, scientist, it's actually what I want to do. Research and development. Like, that's what I want to do. And that's what she wanted to do. But we have friends that, hey, I know that I want to be a doctor. Then you need
gotta
to go to college. That's
Yeah.
what you
Go
need to
be a
do.
doctor. you
But
can't do it any other way.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, we filled out we were going to be foster parents,
Mhm.
or we ended up being foster parents. They want to know the highest level of your education. And that was a moment where I was like, University of North Carolina,
yeah.
yeah.
Asheville.
There you go.
Asheville.
Asheville.
I might have left out the Asheville part. Who
There you
knows?
go. That's okay.
Kind of
That's like
UNC.
way over here. Hey.
And
Yeah.
but how much did it help? It helped. I mean, I had that sense of,
I don't
But
think
there's-
it helped. No, to be a
there's-
foster parent, you could be a foster parent without having a college education. Like, I don't think it helped.
the problem is 18-year-olds don't know what they want to do.
That's the
Exactly.
problem.
That's true.
Isn't that the problem?
24-year-olds don't know. Yeah.
So they
Well, yeah.
go
adults
into
don't
college.
know.
Yeah.
And then they're going off to college, and they're going away from mom and dad. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and it's
sure, they're legal adults, but
you're
are they
getting-
ready?
No.
There are
I
some
don't-
people who are
Derek
getting
says
into
no.
major debt.
Some I believe some are. Some
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
Paige knew, right?
I mean, I had an idea, but it was because so
not
there's
as
two
in-
tracks you can take in high school. You can do college prep or tech prep, and I
did
did
tech
both
prep.
of them.
Obviously, I didn't.
But I did
That was the
both.
only way I was going to graduate. They were like, you have to do tech prep. You can't do the other side. You're not gonna. But here's the thing: I tell that.
Well,
they said that, and the only reason why they said it is because I couldn't pass a foreign language. Well,
Which now you know a foreign
I
language.
speak a foreign language. So I was like, so it wasn't. It was just a matter of perspective and what I wanted at the time. I didn't feel like it was beneficial to me. So hey, it was more beneficial for me to work, and so I chose college prep. It was not tech prep because
Yeah.
hey, I want to work with my hands. I know
Wait,
that
what
that's
what language do you speak?
Spanish.
Can you show off for us a little bit?
See.
Okay. Let's say.
That's
Where are you
right.
from?
Soy de I'm trying to think North Carolina and soy de
Kakalaki.
yeah,
Sure, Spanish.
North Kakalaki. A little bit of.
soy de I'm trying to say Fayetteville because that's what I said for
That's
so
fine.
long. Soy de Carolina del Norte.
And what did you like to play with?
Carolina del
What did you
Norte.
like to play when you were a child?
Cuando era niño, yo
Good.
Better at reading
So,
it and translate.
have you ever had a
translating
mo-
it. That's what he had to do for his job.
Okay.
Yeah, in the
football.
military.
Okay. So have you ever had a moment where people are speaking Spanish and they assume you have no idea what they're saying,
Yeah.
and it'd be an interesting moment?
Yeah.
What? You want to tell me about it?
Sure.
Where you maybe had an
Yeah,
advantage?
yeah.
They didn't think you could.
So it's funny because that
Were they
was
talking bad about
That
you or
was his-
somebody
so,
else?
So
my
that
job.
was his
Trying to
job.
Yeah.
That was his job.
What
So
was
that
your
was-
job?
In the military, it was his job.
my
too.
job
Yeah.
was to know not enough to.
Oh,
Yeah, it was enough to know, to hear and understand what people around you are saying.
Yeah. He didn't necessarily have
Okay.
to speak it like
So
fantastically.
the speaking was,
I mean, it was
trying
good,
to get a
but-
cab or
But
try
I
to get to the
think-
airport.
The hearing, like
mostly
I
hearing.
could understand what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't
Okay.
say that back.
so your job
Yeah.
was to look American, look unable to speak Spanish,
Yes.
but to pick up on some things.
Yeah.
But it was strategic because he blended in with
Yeah.
the cult, like with the community. So
Exactly,
like
this is
they would assign a language, which you can tell him. Probably shouldn't say that, but he would be assigned a language, like all the guys in the course, like based on their profile.
Mm-hmm.
So like
okay.
So it's less likely that a black person would speak Spanish.
no, it's more likely that a black person.
It's
Oh.
more likely because
Oh,
majority of
really?
the time people think I was
'Cause-
Dominican.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So if you're watching, no. Yo estudié español en Carolina del Norte. Yo trabajé en muchos diferentes países en Sudamérica. Mi trabajé fue Asuntos Civiles. Asuntos Civiles es una especialidad en fuerzas especiales, special forces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
can-
you
almost
studied
literally-
in
yeah.
North Carolina, and you worked in special forces.
I
Yeah,
cannot
in
speak
South
it.
America.
I cannot
Yeah.
speak it, but I can.
Do you speak it to your kids then?
So when they're a little, not really.
My
I
mom
kind
does.
of, her mom is like teaching them, so I'll like kind of test them on. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you look back on your childhood times, growing up times, and think of a defining struggle? Does anything come to your mind? For me, it would be my parents' divorce.
My sister passed away. That was a struggle. My oldest sister. That happened when I was in high school. I mean, I think just losing
Yeah.
any loved one is really tough, and that's just a hard thing to kind of process and deal with. And
Did it mess your parents up? I mean, that's like parents.
Wait, how old
worst
were you
nightmare.
and how
Yeah.
old was she?
so I was 15, and she was 21.
Okay.
And like my dad, when I say I was a PK, my dad was preaching like full time. Well, not full time because he was engineer, so really it was always part time. But he stopped preaching like after that happened, and just like our family just really needed a lot of time to just kind of get our bearings. And I think it's still hard even now for them. And I think often like, what would it be like if I like had my my oldest sister still? Like it's kind of one of those things that it doesn't ever really leave you. But
You mind talking about this?
no, it's
Okay.
okay.
So she would be, how old are you now?
I'm 33.
Yes.
33.
So she was,
And
she'd
she would be
39.
35, 39.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she would have been almost 40. Yeah,
Were you close? Like,
I mean, she was my
was close with her sister?
She was my big sister, so it was more like me getting in trouble for trying to try on her clothes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, and she was in college, when she passed. So it was like I knew her, but I didn't have like a really close relationship with her, just because of the age difference. But now that I'm like older with kids, it's like I just wonder, what would that have been like? And I think that's just one of those things when, at least for me, when the older that I've become, I'm closer with my siblings than when I was younger. So like the people that I call or that I want to talk to when I'm in the car or whatever, it's my, it's my family. And, I think that's something you kind of figure out over time because I don't know, when you're, and I never like hated my siblings or anything like that. Like we hung out.
I know, but they're straight.
But yeah, but it's just like, well, you got your friends and I got my friends. But like now, I tell my kids this now, like, these are your friends. Be nice to them because they will be your friends.
Homeschool, right?
We do homeschool.
So look around. These are your classmates.
I know, right?
Find the one you got most in common with and be a buddy.
That's so
what you
they
do in
have those
school.
like word problems, like how many kids in the class like oranges or something. I'm like, well, go ask your siblings. This is your class. Like, but but even like,
Yeah, you can.
But even in that, it's like just getting them to try to understand, like, you may not see it now, but when you get older, like these are going to be your people. Like they will know you the most. You can look at them and they just will understand, hey, this is what it is.
So your family is your people. You would say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you just want to pass that on, nurture that in your children?
Yeah.
So your parents were successful in
Getting
that family union. That doesn't happen most of the time.
doesn't.
Yeah.
They were successful
I agree.
in making the family their people.
Yeah.
So what have you learned from them that now you're doing with your kids so that they'll grow up and they'll be each other's people? I want to know that for my own family and everybody listening whose family isn't their people.
Yeah.
How do we stop that cycle?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a deep question.
We got time. We got 2 hours and 20 minutes.
I think
Right behind your head.
Okay. I think when you're trying to develop a sense of I think it's pride really. And not hopefully that's not taken in a negative way, but I think that there's a sense of pride that should come from like you're like being proud of like being a part of your family. So my last name used to be Hamilton and everyone knew the Hamiltons. Like if we were out of line, like it didn't happen. Like we were the good kids. We were well behaved. We were good looking. We were the homecoming kings and queens. I mean, I'm not like I just say like
most likely to succeed. Her
majority,
brothers and
all of
sisters
my brothers, they were all like just everyone knew the Hamiltons. Like we made a name for ourselves, and it wasn't.
That even sounds like that's a really nice last name. It sounds like something
Hamilton.
you'd have to live up to anyway.
Oh, it's a big name. But and I think I don't think that my parents initially were like, you're gonna make a name for yourself and you're gonna be, but I think it was a sense of within the home, right? So like within our home, that was an understanding of like, who you are and whose you are. And you will not act outside of your name. And so now that like we have kids and we have a family, I think that my hope is that our kids have that same sense of understanding of who they are and whose they are, because I think that then kind of brings in together this union of like, hey, like this is who we are. We're not going to act outside of our name. Like, so you will then come from a place of like, confidence maybe in saying, okay, well, I don't really have to, not that you're like disrespectful or anything of like asking permission of things, but just like the sense of like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm called to do. And my family, has taught me this and they've instilled this in me. And I think that gives them confidence to do that in the next generation to come.
You were careful about using the word proud. You were like, I don't mean it in the negative sense. You were very, very careful there. But I think if somebody heard you say that you ought to be proud and they're offended, the message is actually for them. And it's saying, oh, if that offends you, no, it's okay to be proud about something good.
Yeah.
And to stand for something and have a standard.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that might even be a signal to whether somebody's on the track to family unity, the way you guys have found it, or not.
One of the things that I've noticed is not because we are a new family, or we are the Jacksons. One of the things that I think is interesting is her parents. While I saw that unity from the outside.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd never seen it before. Most people were like, "You seen the Cosby?" I had never seen the Cosby Show before. I had never seen it before. I was like, I heard of it. We didn't watch TV like that, so I had never heard of this. So when I met them in school, or when I met Paige, I knew that I don't really. Oh, you're the
Cosbys.
Hamilton girl. Like I don't like.
You're the Hamilton
Yeah.
girl.
The Hamilton girl.
Yeah, they were the Hamiltons, and somebody said that. A lot of people said that. I went to a school that was majority white. I think I was one of like maybe 15 African American males there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Paige was, I mean, there may have been a few more girls, but it was a big deal to be at a school like that. And they speak so highly of, I had just come from Mississippi. So where there was only two, white people, and there was they were administrators. So to go to Georgia and
Be like,
exactly, it was just like,
slapped.
whoa, like, who are we talking about? I was like, okay, got it. And the people were telling me, there were guys, I know their names to this day. We're still friends. I would say if we could shake hands. We're totally. We were talking about it the other day, but they would be like, I remember I said, somebody's like, who are you interested in? Because you're not dating anybody. You're not like, you never talk about these girls. And I was like, I'm working, so I don't have time for that.
I'm working.
I was working. I was like, I'm not going to any football games. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I just want to work, so I don't have time for it. And they were like, have you seen anybody or whatever? And I was like, I was like, we saw you talking to Paige, but you're just wasting your time because that's out of your league. So like they told me she's out of your league. And I was like, well, I wasn't interested in her anyway. But she lived in the neighborhood with us. She lived in my neighborhood. My sister, she met my family. I think she met my sister before me and her really started talking. And my sister's like, I met, one of the Hamilton kids, and, Paige, she's, you should try to be friends with her. Like she could be a good friend for you. And I was like, that's my sister. I heard you, but you're my sister. I don't want you. I'm good. And sure enough, a couple years go by, and then I started, paying more attention to Paige, and I started seeing her more. At the time, I didn't want to be at the school, but I saw her, and she was consistent. Like, she would come by the house, and she'd be like, hey, she came by the house and introduced herself. Unlike the girls at school that were, like, at school trying to introduce themselves. She came to the house and was like, hey, I'm Paige, trying to be my friend. And I was like, why? Why is this girl?
I don't think I was trying to be your friend. I think my brother was selling cookies. That's why I came to your house.
She was trying to be my friend. Yeah.
I wasn't just like, I go to your house.
I'm like wondering. I'm like, Paige.
My brother was selling. I remember that my brother was selling cookies.
Yeah.
So my mom would like bake cookies.
And I tried to buy them all.
We would
Derek,
sell
you
them.
hang on to your proud stance because that's evidently the way to do it.
Yeah. She came.
She was coming after you, Derek.
She was at the
She was
house.
coming after you.
Yeah, she dropped by the house. I was like, okay,
Not buying it.
Yeah, but I wasn't. I still wasn't paying attention. But
Why weren't you paying attention? You thought you were
I
believing your
thought she was
friends?
out of my. I really did think she was.
You believed them.
Ma'am,
I did.
girl.
All right.
I did. I saw it. I heard it at school, and then I started seeing it I saw her.
Okay.
I never saw her. What I had heard was, I saw them living it out. Like I started. I knew they had a large family. I was like, oh man, like okay. I knew that they were Christians or whatever, and I was like, well, we were Christians, and we went to church, but they were different. Mom and dad at home. I was living with my sister and her husband, and
Okay.
it was just, I was just in a different place. Like then, I saw it, and I was just like, well, she's probably out of my league, and and I believe
When you say
it.
out of your league,
What's-
you mean like
Too pretty?
What
I
it-
think maybe too pretty, maybe
Yep. Well, not
different
like-
backgrounds.
or like morally
Uh,
or
moral.
Like,
It was
Okay.
morally, and I mean, I was at this time I was going through those teenage years as a boy, trying to figure out my way as a man. So at that time I was going through some stuff. So I was just like, You
I
know,
was not his type. Let's just put it.
wasn't that
I
shit
was
This
not
wasn't looking
his
By the
for
way,
type.
this is an adult show. This is not
Yeah.
targeted to kids. So
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to
I
tone
was
it down
not
or
his
anything.
type. I was not his type. I was a hoodie chapstick girl wearing Converse and like.
yeah, and I was
And he was
a
interested in
worker dude.
And he was working.
interested in cheerleaders and
Okay.
He
you
was
know,
interested in the fast girls who wore high heels and stilettos.
Okay.
to school
yeah,
with
that
the
could
backpack.
go out on a Friday night. and
Dude,
That
see
you
them.
were
wasn't me.
16.
And
I
I
wasn't
was
about that
yeah,
life.
I was 16.
Did you ever? Does it go the other way? Did you ever think he was under your
Under your league.
Honestly, I thought Jarek was cute when I saw him. Like I was like, "Ooh, he's a
Ooh.
new guy. He's kind of cute."
A little
I mean,
trouble.
but everybody
He's a
was
little
like,
trouble over
but
there.
it was-
Mustache.
but yeah, he did. He had a little goatee thing going on,
goatee.
and I was like, "Well, first of all, like." The school that we went to was predominantly white, and so it was very much like if there was a new guy and a black guy I was new, everyone, the whole school would be like, "There's a guy and he's black." And have you
So were
seen
you
him?
like the coolest guy at school?
I was
He was the new guy.
I was
and
the
that
new
just
guy,
kind of it.
and then I became the who is he?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's
was-
it.
Yeah,
he
because
became who is he? 'Cause he
I
was
never came
around.
out. I never yeah.
So I understand the new kid.
You
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were
Because I was
recluse.
the new kid a lot.
Oh yeah.
So
What do you
I
mean
get
you never
that.
came out?
I never came out of my so
No, like
I
you
never
didn't
came out of
do
the shell.
anything.
I had a group of friends. I had 3 friends. So I moved to Georgia and I was going to a school, and then the school told me I had to move. They sent a letter in the mail. It was like, hey, don't come back to this school anymore. You're not in this district. And I was like, first of all, who does that? Like, people do this all the time.
County.
My family,
Daddy who does it.
it was real. I was like they sent a letter in the mail because my sister was like, you're probably gonna have to switch schools. And I was like, I just got here. I love the school that I'm at.
Aw.
I got these 3 friends, and you know these 3 friends, and still friends to this day. And
So how did you end up at a school that wasn't in your district?
we moved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Because
you were like living somewhere. and then you moved
military.
somewhere
This whole
else.
military thing. We were living in a hotel for like 3 months.
Oh, so you were a military
didn't have a
kid.
house.
You were in a district.
Yes.
That is when you first got there, and then you had to. Okay, because
Yep.
I'm like thinking,
Yeah.
how'd you show up at the wrong school?
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
first
No,
place?
we didn't know exactly
know.
which school, but because we were in the military, they were like, you know, pick a school. As long as you drive there, it's okay because you don't have an address.
Okay.
So and then we moved into the house, and then we got an address, and they were like, yeah. So we found out it was like within days. I think somebody told because it was so fast. It was like 3 or 4 days. The letter was in the mail, and they were like, hey, this is your last day. And I was like, I'm going back to school. And I showed up to school, and sure enough, they called my sister and was like, hey, today he can't come back tomorrow. He has to go to this school.
Yeah.
And that's how I go to school there,
Okay.
and I didn't want to be there. And so I never really engaged outside of I'm here, you know, this is what I have to do. I'm just here because it's what I have to do. I didn't, you know, I wasn't trying to make friends. I
Okay.
participated in nothing other than the things
Okay.
that I had to do.
Okay.
So
What was
yeah.
your big struggle growing up?
Ooh, big struggle. I was raised. It was so my mom. So we lived through the modernization of the newspaper factory. My mom worked for a newspaper for 25 years, probably longer. All the family members that worked there, she worked on a printing press. Well, when the computer thing came out, when the computer came to life, there was no need for the press. But that was what my mom had done her entire life.
Wow.
So, you know, build our life around that. And sure enough, you know, she struggled. And when she struggled, she became very depressed. And that's when I was in middle school. And around the same time, my 9/11 happened. And then my dad got sent to, my dad's was military as well.
Okay.
And he was, you know, he got called up. And when it first happened, so it was just a lot of things fell apart. So my mom was struggling with her job, trying to figure out how to learn the computer, and you know, not really her thing, and just struggling with that and her things, and so she was really depressed. And so with that, my struggle was my way, because I had, you know, I was never hungry. My mom, there was shelter, there was food, and all of that. But when it came to, you know, anything else like guidance and stuff like that, it was just, You know, I get up. I was very, very independent. You know, it was just, my sister was independent as well. Like, my sister left really early. But, you know, it was just me and my mom. So I would get up and, you know, make breakfast. My mom worked a lot, so I'd make breakfast, go to school, come home, and, you know, just, that was me. So as I started getting older,
took care of yourself.
I took care of myself, yeah. She taught me how to do all these things. This is how you cook. This is how you do this. This is how you drive. I was driving. I was the only ninth grader driving to school. My mom was like, "Here, you can drive." I drove to school.
You didn't have a license.
I didn't have a license.
Nice.
No, not yet. But we got that permit though. I got the learner's permit. And, that'll keep you from getting the ticket. The ticket won't be as big. So that was my struggle. Those are some. I think that was my mom struggling with depression, and then my dad being gone. It was just like, you know, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing, and I did that for a very, very long time. I mean, I did that from, I would say, the age of, I was 15, 14, 15 is when it started, and I've been literally working ever since then. I have not had a job since then.
You said it started. What's it?
The depression journey. And his mom's depression. And his dad. And his dad being called to the military.
Yep. So and then my mom lost her. She ended up losing her job, and and she was fine for a while, like for a few years. The answer to everything back then was like, you know, alcohol or whatever. And my mom chose alcohol, so that was it. And she struggled with that for a really long time, and you know, she struggled with it for a really long time, and so that was a part of it. That's kind of it.
Did you struggle with it for a really long time? Did it bother you during this time? Did it affect you negatively?
I don't think so. I think as a parent now, I mean, struggle with it, not so much. I think I think recently, one of the things that I have noticed, that because I've always talked, I was like, man, it's definitely, I was definitely undercover. Like, I was someone was protecting me. The Lord was protecting me throughout all that time. Because if you look at it, all the other people in my surroundings, which were struggling with some of the same things. Jackson, Mississippi wasn't known for just that one thing. Fruit of the Loom, all those manufacturing plants that was the home of them, and they're all gone. So when that happened, all these people lost their jobs. And it's a community of this happening. So some of my cousins and friends and whatever, they didn't have the same thing. Like, while we were all struggling with the same thing of trying to figure out our way, you know, people were eating dinner at our house. They knew they could come to our house and eat. Like, even if, you know, you may not see my mom, but you knew that there was heat or, you know, AC, and there was food, like, and it was a safe place. Like, it was always safe. And, you know, I was thankful for that throughout that time. Even though my mom struggled with it, it was still, for the most part, safe. And the struggle that I have recently realized is that when it comes to being a parent, is where I think is where I struggle with. I don't struggle with it, but it's probably a frustration, like a little. And I don't get very angry when it comes to, like, I'm quick to forgive, and I mean, I love my parents. You know, I don't hold, like, I look at my mom the same, like, as she was. I still believe she was the greatest mom in the world. But as I'm trying to, like, teach my sons how to do things or respond to my daughters in ways, it's like, man, you know, I don't like it. This would be a lot easier if I at least had a place, you know, to start, like a place, because what I know is it was just independent. So my automatic response is to do the opposite. I don't want them to be very independent, because I don't want them to, you know, even though I say that it doesn't really bother me, I've never struggled with anything, like, you know, nothing. Like, I mean, it's just, I've taken it and I've been able to channel it in a way that has been productive. So whenever I do something, it's like I can put my all into this, because I know that I normally take those things and I put it into it. And it's like, this was a struggle, and I can't fail at this, because if I fail at this, then it's just me, because I'm the independent one, right? So I have to do this. I have to succeed in this. So I put it all into it. And then that can be good in a way, and then it can also be bad in a way, because then you start looking at things and you're like, well, she's out of my league. Like, she's out of my league. You know, I'm too broken for that. Like, I'm not good enough for her. And that's one of the reasons why we're sitting here, is because she was the one who was like, you know, who said it. Like, and she didn't know me. So even though my mom them spoke love over me, you know, my sister loved me. And I know that they loved me, but they didn't do a very good job at, I don't know, like, capturing. I don't really know how to explain it, but Paige, she could. So she could say something, and she was invested in me for a reason that didn't make sense. Like, you don't have a reason to be on a date with me. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you want to be here with me? And to hear some of the stuff, hey, I just want to talk, and we could talk for hours, and I'd be like, this is crazy. Like, I've never talked this much in my life.
Do you still feel this way?
Yeah. I mean, yes. Like, it's a, do I feel like she's out of my league? Yeah, I still believe she's out of my league. For sure. I mean, every day is a reminder of like, oh man, 15 years. Yes.
Do you still feel like after you've had some long conversation, like, not worth it?
I believe that I think that this is worth it. And I think that I still believe that I still believe she's a gift. I still don't believe that I was worthy of her. Because she's just,
no, see, that's a really sweet thing to say also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's over there blushing.
If I wasn't a Christian, then I would say that I don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And I don't get it. But as my faith has taught me that no, I'm not worthy of it. I'm really not worthy of the gifts that I receive.
No. You linked it to this drive to be independent,
mm-hmm.
but somewhere in there that also made you feel broken.
Yes.
Because something happened to where you want your children to be dependent. So to me, that's saying there's some bad in being independent.
Well, I believe that there. If you don't,
So when does independent?
Yeah, I do. There is some bad in it.
Yeah. What is the bad in it? Because independent for a lot of people seems like a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, you get independent, you have this will, you're not interested in the schoolmates because you're focused, you just want to work. That can be a good thing.
Yeah.
But everything has a blessing and curse. So
yes,
what's the curse?
Right. The curse is I don't need anybody.
Yeah.
And while I don't believe that, I do believe she's out of my league, I'm also on this. And this is, I think we talked about this before. I wasn't gonna get married. I used to tell people, I was like, I'm not getting married. I'm not gonna get married. If I want kids, so I'm gonna have to be an independent dad. But I'm not getting married. It was just a weird thing. Mm-hmm. I don't even know why, but thinking about that, and I remember I dissected that years ago. And I was just like, why would I say something like that? Why would I do that? And then just thinking about it is because everything that it represented was I would have to, submit, or I would have to relinquish or give up some of who I am in order to be with somebody. Mm. In order for me to do that, that means that I'm giving up my independence. I want to be by myself. I want to do this on my own. I don't want to be single and alone, but I don't want to be held back. I want to, and that was one of the things that I developed from this. It was like, I have to be better than this. I have to do more. Like, I have to do more for my family. I have to prove myself to people, to the world, to my family that, that I am worthy, that I am capable.
Do you feel worthy yourself?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I am.
You feel worthy in yourself, but you still feel like you have to convince other people that you're worthy.
Nope, not anymore. Not anymore. That was definitely no. One was I learned that Paige already said this. I learned, Paige mentioned it from her family. I knows who I was. I figured out who I belonged to. And then I discovered, wait a second, while I don't have a relationship with my father, with my skin father or my skin God. Whatever, my skin God. My skin God. The Lord who has been watching over me this entire time, the one that's protected me from, the environment that most people, become because of their environment. I didn't. Like, I'm completely opposite of what I was the most likely to not. I was the most unlikely to succeed. Unlikely to succeed, right? Yeah. You said it. It was a thing. Like, nobody said it. But I remember, if you go back to our high school class, like, it was, and not that that means anything, right. But I remember the class ranking, and I remember, like, we had like 400 some people, and I was like 307. I was like, well, I guess I'm not the last, but but I knew deep down inside that I knew that I was worthy. My mom didn't teach me. They taught me how to be a good person. As a man, if you get married, you need to take care of your family. You need to take care of your wife. You need to love them. You need to do all these things. They told me these things, but they weren't an example of it because, it just wasn't. They weren't a very good example of it. So, and I guess they had seen it, but they really hadn't lived it. And I think that's what's interesting about Paige's family, because her parents were the exact same way. So our parents grew up in the same environment of, broken families. They're still centered on family, but they're broken. Like, they're broken as in, it's just, you gotta survive. But we love each other. We're gonna do these things, but it's broken. When I say broken, like, my grandfather, my grandma lived in the same house for, I don't know, like 50-something years together. Been married since they were 16. They had separate bedrooms, and he had another family. It was but he had a big family. Like, exactly. Yeah. That was like, that's normal. And that, her family, her parents came from that same environment as my family, but her family got married, stayed together, centered, and the only difference was their family was centered on Christ and ours wasn't. Mm-hmm. So,
but no, I think that's a good point, though. I think I always knew there was a difference, and that even in the environment that we grew up in, it was different. Like I said, I was the only black girl in a lot of situations, and growing up with that experience, my parents would be like, okay, you're different, you're going to be different, but just don't forget, who you are. Like, don't forget that, because, you are a Hamilton. And,
what were they saying you were different? Were they talking about your skin color, or were they talking about you're a Hamilton?
They were. No, I think everything was both. It was both, but I think just that having that sense of awareness, it helped me, and it was never a you can't talk to other people that don't look like. It was never this like this and them, because my whole life it was very much this. I saw color. I'm not gonna act like I did see color, but at the same time I learned to embrace the cultural differences that we had. So. School was one way, and then church, we went to a predominantly black church. So it was like, that was that was also a different world. And then here was my family, like, coexisting in the midst of both of those things.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you said you saw color.
Yep.
What age did you start seeing color?
Always. I don't think it was never like a... I don't see color.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's a great thing.
In your opinion?
I think it's good to see color. I think that it makes you aware. I worked a young life camp in Colorado, and I remember like going in to bring in something to like one of the houses, and one of the kids, their parents were like staying there for the summer, and she goes, "Oh, your skin is brown. I've never seen," and this little girl was like 4 or 5 years old, and she was like, "Why is your skin that color? I've never seen anyone with brown skin before." And I was like, what? But then I had to remember, because my uncle had met me, like, right when I got there, and, like, took me out for lunch, and he was like, there's not a lot of black people here. He's like, I know you're going to go work at a summer camp, and that's cool, so you're probably going to be in a different environment, but I just want to, like warn you, there's not a lot of black people here. And I was like, oh, okay. And so when this little girl is, like, talking about me and talking about my skin, it was not, I mean, I did not take offense to it at all, but I remember being like, this is so strange.
Yeah.
How
like,
old was she?
She was like 4,
okay, so
4 or 5 years old. I mean,
do you think, okay, so I've observed my kids, and it seemed like early on that they didn't see color.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I kind of thought, well, maybe that's good. You know, and then I did see Chip and Joanna Gaines get on with, I can't remember his name, it's called Hard Conversations with Black Men.
Yeah, okay. I saw that one.
And the Gaines are the same way. They came in with this idea that
not seeing color.
Not seeing color.
Just treat everyone the same. It doesn't matter.
And the man's opinion on it, though, was that we should teach our children to see color.
Yeah,
well, because we celebrate our differences. Yeah, which I can see the value in that.
Yeah, of course.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah. I think that it's healthy, and I think that, you know, sometimes when we acknowledge that, it helps us to be able to be in community with one another.
Right.
And I think sometimes when we ignore that, then and the thing is, although we're Americans, we do have different experiences living in America, and I think that that's just, you know, that's just a reality. And some people may not want to acknowledge that, but I do think that that's a fair statement, and that, you know, that we do have different experiences.
Okay. It's kind of like, is it kind of like referring to a blonde?
Yeah.
Or redhead?
Yeah.
Or somebody with freckles? Yeah. There was a point in where our kids would say, we'd talk about Mike Dixon is coming or something, and at some point they're trying to figure out who this is.
Yeah.
They would say, was that that black guy?
Yeah.
They could have said, was that the guy with the goatee?
Gigantic muscles.
Or Jack Body.
He has gigantic muscles.
Yeah.
So, do you sit down and have a conversation with kids, or do you? How do you teach? How do you teach that? How do you teach them to see color? How do I teach my kids to see color?
So I think this is one of the benefits to. So I saw color when I didn't see color until I got to Georgia.
Because you were in a predominantly black community.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. I didn't see it. I mean,
there was surely some white people around.
There was the two administrators at
but you didn't
school.
think.
I never.
That was literally.
You never even made a note of it.
No, like I never I knew nothing about them other than if you asked me before who they were, I would just refer to them as the white administrator. That's the only thing I know about them. I knew that they were females, but other than that, like, I knew nothing about them because of the area that we lived in. My mom had, because of where my mom worked, she had a few friends that were white, and she knew them. Like, she really did know them, as in, you know, they worked together. They partied together. They were friends. Like, they hung out. They hung out. They were friends. And I don't remember having a conversation with a white person, I don't even remember until I got to, you know, maybe when I was in 9th grade, after that or something, but before that, not really. Even like traveling, it was still like I spent my summers in Texas, in Houston, Texas, and they were like, so I think that proximity doesn't solve the issue, or it doesn't teach, I don't believe, because while we lived in an apartment complex, or we were staying in an apartment complex in Texas, you know, it was still the group of individuals that we, you know, were in community with were all black. The church we went to, they were all black. Like, it was just, and so I don't even remember seeing it. Like, it wasn't until it was like something bad. In my experience, that was my experience. It was something bad. You either get pulled over, or you got to go to Or I'm sorry, the insurance man.
So you get pulled over, and then it's the white cop.
Yeah, that's normally
the insurance man.
Or the insurance man.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. I remember the insurance man.
Associate.
So like bad things.
Something bad things happen when the white man comes around.
The insurance man came when our house burned down, and then the police officers was after a car accident or something. It was associated with something outside of like community. So,
but I think that's a good point though, because when you said how do we teach our kids this, I think that there's a difference between proximity and community.
Yeah.
And so for us, I would say that, and even thinking about my upbringing, my parents were very intentional about community. So in terms of like, okay, you can see all these people that don't look like you, but yet you're still going to be in community with them. Meaning they can come over to your house, you can go over to their house. We're having a, birthday party or something. And so I think, everyone's going to see color. And if you don't see color, you're lying to me. I mean, you see the color of my skin, but that does not define me. And I think that we break those barriers of what that means when we're living in community opposed to proximity.
Yeah. My sister did this thing when we moved to Georgia. It was one of the big reasons for her saying, hey, you need to come here. But you need to be exposed. Because my sister had done it. She was she had done all these other things. So she knew that, you're more than what, your environment is. You're way more than this. My sister, she studied at NASA. And I remember when she got that, it was like a big deal. Because we were like, that's going to be dangerous. Like, how you going to go and live there? Like, there's our community of people, like, you're going to be there by yourself. And I think it was Huntsville, Alabama. And we had heard horror stories about the place. And we were just like, my mom was super worried. My sister was fine. No issues. She thrived, right? Yeah. While she does look, if you look at the picture, she's not. Yes. She doesn't look like me.
What do you mean?
She looks like she's Native American.
Yeah.
She's lighter skin.
Yeah. So we really didn't have anything to worry with. She was fine. However, when we moved to Georgia, my sister told me, she was like, hey, I know that this environment is different. And this is her trying to expose me to my environment and trying to be intentional about exposing me to, color. And she says, hey, you need a white friend. And I was like, what? She was like, you need to be very intentional about, you need to, I'm not telling you to force yourself to do anything. She was like, but when the opportunity comes, don't shy away from friending me, someone just because of the color of their skin. And then she'd have to say that in Mississippi because everybody was black. So it wasn't, you didn't really have a choice.
You didn't have an opportunity.
Exactly, to do it. And she's like, some of the best experiences in my life have been when I've allowed myself to do that. And sure enough, the opportunity presented itself faster than I thought. One of the guys in my class was like, hey, would you... first of all, he asked me if I could give him a ride home, which was really weird. I'd never met him before. He was like, hey, can you give me a ride home? You drive, right? He's like, can you drop me off?
He's just looking for someone who's got a car.
Exactly. Yes. And he's like, can I get a ride? I live right outside the school. I was like, I don't know. My mom said, my sister said I can't have people in the car or whatever. And he was like, well, I'll ask my mom and whatever. And sure enough, I gave him a ride. And I dropped him off around the corner. And sure enough, the next day in class, he was like, hey,
can we do this every day?
He asked, well, he did. He's like, I really don't think it'll be a big deal. But he says, hey, we're going, we talked in class and stuff, and outside of that, we hadn't done anything. He invited me to a football game. I was like, okay, cool, I'll go to a football game. I'm surrounded by other people, so it's not just you and I.
Me.
After I went to the football game, he says, hey, we're going camping. And I was like, what?
No, why's she making that face?
And I was like,
because black people don't go camping.
I've never been camping before. I had never done any of that.
This is hilarious.
So is this kid not seeing color?
Right? No. Now that I know his mom, and his dad, I know that they told him the same thing. Right? At some point, they had this conversation, and they had met me before at the football game, and I'm pretty sure they were like, "Hey, I don't know what they said, but." He says, he's like, we're going camping.
Like his family, not like a bunch of guys.
No, this
like,
is family.
Like his family.
This is a tradition.
Okay.
Every year, right? And
you're in, dude. You're in.
Yeah, right. And I was like, okay, I don't know. Like, I'll ask, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go. I don't want to do that. Why would I want to go and sleep outside? That sounds horrible. Especially somewhere I've never been and around people that I don't know. And sure enough, so I go home and I tell my sister, I was like, so Drew is his name. Drew asked me if I wanted to go camping. And my sister said, did you say yeah? And I was like, no, first of all, that's kind of weird that you're like so, okay with me just leaving. And she was like, you should go. Like, you need to go. She was tell me more about it. And I was like, well, I don't know. I didn't ask any questions. And his mom called.
It really means a lot to these white people.
It did. His mom called.
Oh.
Called my sister.
Okay.
It was like, I know that may, like, just so you don't think we're crazies. Her husband was in the Air Force. And so it's like a military. Yeah. So like, automatically it's okay, we understand that we have something. Yeah. Right. And my sister, it wasn't a thing for her.
She's like pushing you out the door.
Right, yeah.
Like, go.
And I come home and she's like, I talked to Miss Rockwell, and I was like, what? And this, you're going to go here. It's for the weekend. She was like, you don't have to go. You're going to go there I was like, for a full weekend, I'm going to go live with these people? And she was like, it's outside. There are going to be other people there. And she was like, it's going to be like, you will not regret it. And I will not regret it because it was life-changing in a number of ways. But it was amazing. I went, and that was my first experience to it. They were, they exposed me to things that I'd never done, where I never wore to ski. Dislocated my shoulder, though. It was horrible. Like, it was the last day. It was like, but the way that they responded to my injury was like, man, like, y'all really do care. I mean, they were
real nice people.
Really nice. Yeah. Like, just, so, I mean, just, it felt like family. Like, and I only had family. Like, outside people weren't really accepted. It was like, we're family. Like, I went to school with my family. We walked to school together. We rode. It was all together. It was no outsiders. It was just us. So I recognized it right away, and I was like, man, like, these people really do, like, they're genuine people. And again, it was different. Husband, wife, 2 kids, and a dog, and 2 big dogs. I was like, oh man, I've read stories about stuff like this, and it's like these people were real. Like
what kind of dogs?
So you,
how big were they?
They were huge. Golden.
They had German Shepherds. Didn't they have German Shepherds?
No, the hairy Golden Retrievers. They were Golden Retrievers, the big ones.
So,
yeah.
I gotta ask you,
huge in the car with them.
Before we get to, now, I want to go back to this guy. You said it. You said black people don't camp or don't like camping. It's kind of a broad statement, right?
Yeah.
So going back to seeing color and things, I just want to just get it out there and clarify. So this, you sound like you had a good time.
It was, I did.
So either this kid didn't know that black people don't like camping, or he thought, well, maybe you like camping.
Yeah.
Drew just wanted to hang out with
Drew just wanted a friend.
He just thought you were cool.
He just wanted
a friend, and you had a car.
And I had a car. Yeah, that broke down after like 2 times. It was bad. Yeah. Around the corner from his house too.
But you didn't take any offense to him asking you to go camping.
No, I was actually no offense.
Like, he should know. He should, like, you didn't think, he should know. Black people don't.
So I didn't think black people. I didn't think that I was only in 10th grade, so I was just like, that don't sound fun. It wasn't. Okay. We just had never done
now,
it.
Let me clarify that statement, because we are not a monolithic group.
Right.
Some black people may like camping.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's not a.
But as a group,
it's not.
But I would say that a lot of the black people that I know, they don't typically go camping.
And I should say, hopefully we get to this.
Yeah.
Farming also.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of black people at the homesteading event or the farming event. So hopefully we'll get to that.
I want to know. And you're saying, and
I think that is primarily due to these stereotypes.
Okay.
I mean, not.
Okay.
Like, I think that, and I mean, just from what I've noticed, is my sister said this. Mm-hmm. She was like, there are some people that will never ever change or be exposed to different things because they won't allow themselves to be put in an environment that they don't know, or that doesn't look like them, or around people that they don't know, or that it will prevent them from being able to do things. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it was, because after I went camping, I was like, man, I enjoy this. Like, this is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Until I joined the military, and then it's like, well, it's just I don't really like it that much. But it's different ways of camping.
I like it. It was like water skiing.
Exactly, water skiing, all that stuff sounds cool.
But now it's like my job. It's not so much fun.
Mm-mm. Well, I don't want to pay to go do it.
But not to get like super deep into all these things. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I remember watching I don't know what it was, reading a book or a podcast, just some form of content, but it was talking about like one of the reasons why a lot of Black people don't do, or just African Americans in general, don't do a lot of activities outdoors. I mean, you have to think about slavery. You have to think about, like, we didn't even have the freedom to go out and explore the woods and just without the fear of getting lynched. And so with that being said, that did create a precedent in a lot of people's psyche that Black people don't go outside at nighttime. You know, like that's just not what we do culturally. That's not what we do.
My mom probably would have, if my mom were there, she probably would have said no.
She would have,
because it would be like it's not safe. You know, because you don't know.
My sister
encouraged
being from a different time.
Okay.
You know, seeing things. So my mom was post like Jim Crow. My mom grew up during Jim Crow, so she experienced it in Mississippi. I mean, it's you don't have to drive far to see it there. Shielded us from it by moving away from the country to the city. Okay. Right? We don't want anything to do with it. Left the farmland. We're moving to the city. It's safer. So we moved to the city. My sister grows up during that time. My sister's I heard about it, I read about it. I look kind of different, so people don't really associate me. So I'm going to go and I'm going to experience life different. And she did. And I had exposure to that because it was my sister. She's like, okay, so you're going to come here with me. We're going to go do these things. We're going to go and, go out on the lake, and we're going to go do these things. My sister was like the catalyst for that, for my family. She was the first person to leave to go to college outside of the state. So, I mean, to go to college, period. Yeah. So that allowed us to see things a little differently. So, but yeah, my mom would be like, no,
it's not safe.
We don't. I wouldn't do that. But also, my mom.
My family did go camping on church trips, though. Yeah. So I'm not gonna act like we never did it. Like we would do it.
Have y'all gone camping as a family now?
Yeah.
Oh, you're into it now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was it. After that, I was like, I'm going every year. Like I even called family.
We used to do camping with the family.
Yeah. So. I mean, they definitely.
We should camp more.
I
end up doing all the
work. He doesn't like it.
You do come out with good stories. I will say that.
Yeah.
I don't like camping for
all
that
the work.
By the way.
You come back drained. Guaranteed.
No, I like hiking in. I like putting the backpack on.
I want to go car camping.
Go minimalist.
I want to put it all in my car.
So she's got to have the
eggs,
where you drive into the campground and your car is still there, and so you're like, not camping in the car, but like all your stuff is there. You don't have to like put it on your back.
You're like
5 miles in the woods. Like I don't want to. I've done that. I backpacked once, and I was like, no.
See, I like backpacking.
Never doing that. Well, you guys should get together.
So and that's what
Paige and I.
Paige likes that extravagant.
Yeah, we do that.
You guys can go backpacking. We'll keep the kids at the creek. It'll be fun.
Just what we can carry on our back.
I like that.
That's the way to do it.
That's what he wants to do. I'm not doing that.
I'm not either.
I need to have a cast iron skillet. I need to be able to cook some eggs and make
eggs. I was like, how are we supposed to get eggs out there?
You got to figure out a way like
that. Exactly, right?
And it's on you, too. It's not on them.
Exactly. Cast iron skillet. So I was like...
Well, that's because
you know how heavy that cast iron skillet.
With some
water?
I'm good.
Like generator? You want a generator too?
And then be like, that's not camping, Paige. Like, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is camping.
Well, you might as well get an RV.
You're outside.
Exactly.
You're camping.
I know. That to me, that's a prerequisite. But.
So we'll keep the kids that don't want to go backpacking with you
sounds
guys.
like we
You
need to
guys
have
will
a
go
split up.
backpacking.
Yeah. That's a lot
It'll
of
be
fun.
so much fun because I'll
So-
enjoy that.
Sounds like what you're saying, going back to
Sorry.
seeing color, is exposure, creating community around in diversity.
Yeah.
I agree.
Your community. I mean, we've been intentionality is, I think it's very, very important when it comes to trying to teach anything. Like if being intentional, and I don't even say vulnerable because we're vulnerable people. Like people will take chances, but it's like, but how intentional are you with saying, okay, we're gonna go do this. You know, like I'm going to go. Some of the things that we do is not by choice because every job that I had in the military, I was the only. Every job. And it was like, whoa, like, it was even more of an exposure for me. Because this was like, whoa, like, okay, got it. So putting myself in the position where it's like, well, I wasn't intentionally doing that, but the things that I wanted in life, it just ended up being like, well, these are the people that are here. So if you want to do this, this is what it looks like. And then I realized, like, man, okay, I just have to be intentional about these things. Like, we have to be intentional about the people that we are in community with. The people that kind of, in the military, they make it very, very easy for you, though.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have a choice. You go move on this day at this time, and these are options for where you stay. Your neighbors are who they are. Like, that's what it is.
Even with, like, making friends. Like, it was just like, oh, your husband's in this unit. My husband, oh, you have kids. I have kids. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what race you are.
It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter. It's just, okay, let's be friends.
I've never,
Like,
the military has been like, it really did, it helped us it prepared us to go out and live. I mean, now we only know it this way. Like, because that's, every time we went somewhere, it was like, oh, they're military. Okay, cool. No one cared about what you look like. Like, that was the
common
really,
bond and the struggle was the military.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
I know that your husband is gone. My husband's gone. We're
Let's
struggling
have dinner
together.
Like really. It was like, your husband's deployed. Okay, we're going to get together and have play dates and dinner.
Yeah.
Because we know, like, it's an understood struggle.
Yeah. And then it allows you to, as you're in community, not just proximity, but in community. Proximity is, you know, we're walking our kids to the bus stop together, and then we get in our cars and we go separate. Community is, we're walking to the bus stop together, we're going to leave, we're going to go, and we're going to run errands together. And then we're going to talk about my husband being gone and the struggles. That is community. Because
like,
now,
this is a hard day.
when the bad things, or when we want to have these conversations about, because we've had it where people are like, well, what do you guys think about that? What do you think about this? And then it's like, oh man, like, there are some people that would think, okay, well, that I don't necessarily. They never really have to think about the whole racism thing. They don't have to really think about color and, you know, all the, you know, things that are happening to people out in the world, these experiences. Because when we see each other, it's like, well, we know white people, or we know black people, and they don't act like that, you know, or they don't talk like that. They don't do they're great people. Like, and so we're in this community, and we're like, this is normal. But then when you leave that community and you go outside of it, you're just like, it's not the same, because you have to start from scratch. Because I can't just go up to Justin and say, hey Justin, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think about this? Let's get together. And it's like, well, I don't really know, because I don't really know you. Like, I don't know you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's unusual for, you know, and then to have a conversation about, well,
really personal things.
Yeah. Like, let's talk about personal. It's hard. Like, you can't. So, I think proximity and community are two different things. Right. And in order to, you know, see color and understand it, you have to be in community together, not just proximity.
It helps out, because this is a largely white audience, I'm imagining. And so, what, you know, we're fortunate because the business we come across a lot of people, and but not everybody has that situation. So in like this county, you know, if I didn't have this platform in this county, there's like 2% black people. So it's like, how can you advise somebody in that situation? Is it and I guess this is what I'm getting at too, is it okay to seek someone out just because they're black? And maybe that being the only common, or... So, you see what I'm saying?
Like saying like, oh, I don't have any black friends.
Is that superficial?
I don't want to say need some,
like they're not,
but like want to have diversity in your life.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
I mean, now if you were like, I need them to check the box, that's weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would.
I can say that.
Yeah. That's definitely a recipe for something.
I know that there are going to be people hearing this and really want to do this. You're making a great case.
Yeah.
It's expanding your mind. Like you discovered camping. Well, there's things for us to discover too.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like diversity, that, like, because, like, people coming, you guys have had very different experiences than we've had, you know? And so I think coming together with people is a great, like, you know, way to
so you're
learn
saying,
and be, like, community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this would be an example. So we catered an event, or we hired a hibachi chef.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's Japanese though.
He's not. He is Vietnamese.
But that here's an Asian, and you're saying you don't think it's insensitive or to just pursue him, just to get some diversity in our life.
So
as opposed to pursuing him because he also farms and you know what I'm saying.
So I wouldn't. I don't think, and this is in my opinion. In my opinion, I don't think that. I think if you have a heart and a passion, if you feel like there's this, you know, if you feel like there's some conviction saying, I need to, maybe there was somebody in your life at one point, and you felt like you never really, and they were, you know, of a different race, and that person, you didn't give them the opportunity of day because of their difference. I would say that that's a time where I would say, well, maybe that's worth going out and saying, I want to make this right. But, and this is just me, this is my opinion, I don't believe that if where we live right now, or where you guys live, if there's none here, I don't think you should, you know, intentionally get in a car and drive, you know, to a county where there is nobody to do that.
I mean,
you do not.
Some people will tell you that, but I don't believe
I don't think you should do that. Like,
I would have to. We drive 30 minutes. I mean,
and then
do we go to the? We could go to the black church.
Well, okay. So I will say this.
I mean,
the times when I felt that my friends really came into my world in terms of community was when they came to church with me. And I say that because it wasn't even just like, oh, you're coming. It was like, I feel comfortable inviting you to church with me, and you accept the invitation to come to church with me, because that really is a big point, like that's like a big crux of who I am, and you know, and maybe this is really touchy, so hopefully I'm not offending people, but in terms of church, like culturally, we do things a little differently. Culturally. Now, it's not to say that we're challenging different statements on the Trinity or, you know, like all of these other really big topics. Like, that's not even it. Like, but at the same time, it's like, well, but experiencing church and the way that we're living life and doing community, I felt like that was just a really big, like, man, you really care about me. Like, like
you want to know who I really
You want to know who I am, you know? And that, for me, was a really big thing. Now, is it to say that everyone needs to go to, like, you know, a church where they're the other all the time? I think that's a personal decision. You have to make that decision for yourself. And I'm not going to be the narrator to say you have to do those things.
I think what Derek's saying is, you know, you could have went with your mom's notion and just not done it because he was white. Right? You know, be careful. You're saying, no, do it more for your sister's reasoning. Just get a white friend, get some diversity. And but he came after you because you could drive. He wasn't necessarily coming after you because you're black.
Exactly.
That's the cool thing.
No, because there are other black kids in the class. He could have gone to any of the. I mean, way more. I wasn't. I mean, there were more. I guess, attractive people
There were
in
other
that class.
opportunities
Yeah,
for him.
a lot more.
'Cause
Plenty of opportunities.
I will say, growing up, there was maybe a couple of black kids come through our Christian school, but that was when crisscross was cool. You guys remember crisscross?
Yeah.
Wear the pants backwards.
Yeah.
Like the rappers are cool, right?
Yeah.
So then, you know.
See, I have a different experience.
you-
I grew up in Florida,
Yeah.
and there was a lot more diversity there.
Yeah.
And so, like in our church community, we had diversity. In my
Yeah.
private
Yeah, you
school
did.
that I attended,
Yeah.
there was at least, so it was more white than black, but we had a good
Yeah, I remember
group
going
of
to
black
your,
kids as well, though. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I,
Like,
went
so
to-
we
I remember
had,
going to your church and thinking, this is not a white church. This is not a black church.
yeah,
Yeah.
we had
This is
a very
everybody.
good
Yeah, yeah.
match,
Good.
like
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it, but we had both. We had a lot of races there. It wasn't
Yeah.
just that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, so then I moved here, and it's all white.
Yeah.
I mean, there was this, like, because we do have 2% in our county, and
Yeah.
I went to the city school, so there was a more majority in our high school. But yeah, I mean, but then our church was all white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, remember this? We got telling this. You guys know Tony Evans?
Yeah.
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 We went
Oh,
to that
yeah.
church.
Oh,
We were in Texas.
And
So
awesome.
awesome.
So we went to that church.
And Kirk Franklin.
And Kirk
was there?
Franklin surprised us.
Wow.
So I know,
There.
maybe I know what you're talking about like different styles of worship, because we grew up in like
Oh.
Baptist.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Baptist,
very
Southern
white.
Baptist.
Yes.
Different.
My auntie is actually
She's
is
a
a deacon at
deaconess.
Really?
deaconess at
At that
Tony
one?
Evans.
It was really great. We really
Yeah.
enjoyed our time there. at
Yeah.
the
But then we also went to the David Crowder
we also went to David Crowder.
Yeah.
church. He
Yep.
leads worship at some place.
It was
And
an.
it was different. That was, I'm sure there were
Waco.
some black people there, but it was mostly white
It
people.
was.
But that was even different too
diverse.
than
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
grew up
Mhm.
in. So it's good.
I mean, more
it's
so for
good to-
Justin. He grew up in this county, so it isn't. It's just not very diverse.
I think
But you know-
oh, sorry, Justin.
Well, you know what I'm finding out is, those churches are different. We could have Mike and Lacey Dixon. Well, they're going to be here next week.
Yeah.
Churches, every individual church is going to have different
Yeah.
things.
Absolutely.
Mike's going to have a different idea
Oh yeah.
on race. I don't know if there's a blanket. Is there?
No.
Yeah, I don't think
because
there's
you
a
guys are all
blanket.
individuals.
Yeah.
With all your own
Different-
thought processes,
Exactly.
Different
and
experiences. It's
Yeah.
a really big deal. I'm sure they've seen things different with them being a.
Multi-biracial.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's why.
So that is, I know that there are challenges and things that come with that as well. So they would see things differently than I'm sure they do.
Oh,
Even though,
yeah.
I mean, because we've been to, we've tried to be intentional about. We've tried it a couple different ways. We've tried, okay, we're going to go do this, and we're going to do it because we felt led to do this. We're going to go to this church, and we're going to expose ourselves to this different environment, a white church, or a majority white church,
Or Asian church.
or Asian church, or whatever.
Yeah.
I went to I lived in Korea. I went to an Asian church, so it was just a thing. Didn't really care. But however, I think that a lot of the times it's coming from the individual and the individual experience. So I think a lot of this depends on the individual when it comes to like racism and race and all these things. I was raised in a family of people that were they were racist against the other others, not just white people. Others, anybody that didn't look like them.
Okay.
And they wouldn't say that. They would be like, "Oh no, I'm not." And it's like, well, yeah, you are. That's the definition of it. But one of the things that I've learned, growing up and studying is it's the individual. The individual, either they have their own. It's the way that they perceive things is what their heart posture is. Some people it's sinful, and then some people it's something that they struggle with, and some people it's just the ignorance. Like they just don't know any
But
better.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of times it is a lack of exposure. It's just really ignorance because they have in their heart and in their mind said, well, I'm gonna distance myself and not expose myself to different people that don't look like
On
me,
purpose.
people that don't talk like me,
Okay.
on purpose. And again, I think it really is a heart posture, because it's like, well, if you feel like you can't expose yourself to other people, or like you're so great, like you're withholding yourself from other people, then I don't know. Is that a good move? Because again, like you're really, I feel like you're creating boundaries that don't necessarily have to be there. So if there is an opportunity to engage with other people in other reasons, I say go for it, because you will learn something. It will help you to see the world differently, and I think it'll just make you better in all ways.
I think what will happen, so our kids are out playing together now. Our 5. And
With your 5.
And I think at a much earlier age, my kids will, or your kids will, notice and rub the skin and say, oh, this is white. Or you have freckles. And so I think that I can see how that can happen.
I had some black girls in my elementary school.
Because you went to black school.
I went to. Didn't you? I wasn't. It was it was basically half and half. But the girls would just touch my hair. Yeah. They would just rub my hair, and I just remember being like.
No, it kind of freaked her out.
It did
they
freak
were
me
total
out
strangers.
because I did not know them. They would just be
That's
like.
one thing, but that's what you guys were getting at. You can't just start an abrupt
Exactly.
conversation like this without having some relationship.
They were just in proximity. They were in my community.
Exactly.
I did not know them at all.
Like, how would you
like
feel?
it.
You're on the bus
Right.
and some white person starts rubbing your hair. Okay.
But
But
my
if
mom
Rebekah was like,
yeah, I mean, my mom explained it. She was just like, they don't have hair like you. Right? And they just wanted to feel it. And then when she explained it to me, I was like, oh, okay. Like, it didn't freak me out anymore when I came home and I said, Mom, they just were like touching my hair and I didn't know what to do. And I had very blonde hair. So like, white. It was like white. It was like super white. So they were kind of like, what is going on here?
But if they would have... If y'all would have
if they would have been my friends,
and you're having a sleepover, and you're doing each other's hair,
right?
Then it's a little different.
Those conversations, those things. I mean, those things. When we went camping, that was one of the things. They were like, "Aren't you going to put on sunscreen?" And I was like, "For what?" I remember being like,
so that's what,
"I don't have to wear that."
One of my best friends is an esthetician.
They were just
we joke
like,
about this to this day. One of my best friends is an esthetician. And so she's, SPF every day, all the time. And when we were in, like, growing up, like, I don't know, I probably said this. I've been friends with her since kindergarten. But I remember looking at her and being like, girl, black people don't need sunscreen. You have built-in sunscreen. And now I'm eating those words because it's like, no, actually.
You do need it.
I do need sunscreen.
You do need it.
But
it's helpful. It is
not quite as soon as us.
Right. I don't have to worry about clear. Yeah, because now I burn really bad.
No, it's just funny because I believe that, and like, we joke about it all the time now, like, because you just think these things.
Like when you're. Well, I remember asking my mom when I was a kid. We were at the beach in Florida. And I'm like, do they have to wear sunscreen too? Because, we're slathering it up.
Right.
And she's like, no, I don't think
No, but
we do.
You really do. You really should.
Black people need to wear
It will burn you up. Yes, I've been burned. Living in South America, I got burned. I remember being like, I gotta go buy sunscreen. I've never worn sunscreen ever. Until I was like 27, right? And it burned my head so bad. And I remember the guys being like, "Did you put something on your head?" And I was like, "No." They were like, "Dude, you're gonna be in trouble." Like, I'm not gonna. I'm never wearing sunscreen. Every now and then my nose will peel, but outside of that, I'm good.
We wear
it was
sunscreen
bad.
for the record. I pack it in my bag.
It takes you longer to get vitamin D.
We
know this because we've got the vitamin D app. She has more darker skin.
I
Her
do.
dad
I
has
have
West African in him. She tans.
And also Native American.
A lot easier than me.
So,
I can get my vitamin D requirement
in like 15 minutes. I've lived
because
there for
I'm
like
such
an hour
a solar
and a half.
collector.
I know. Well, we say his skin is clear.
Yeah.
Because literally, he's just like he does.
But I guess heritage-wise, we as
I mean, I have a more diverse heritage
than
Justin.
Yeah.
So I did say earlier that you blushed. Now I don't know if you turned red,
Maybe I did.
but you were giving the blush motion.
Blush
So okay, all right. Looking at my foot in my mouth there, just making sure.
That's okay.
I like it.
It's real.
Is it okay? I like this family. I like how they're.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta get some sunscreen on.
Yeah, you gotta get some. Yeah.
You want to go camping with us?
Right.
I know.
Oh yeah, they're the
still
best.
friends
The
with
Rockwells,
them?
yes,
Okay,
that's
yes.
cool.
They are. Interesting bunch. The Rockwell family. They were Air Force and we were Navy. And I joined the Army. Their son joined the Army. This is the thing, and we were both. They were a blessing to us, or a blessing to me, and I was a blessing to him.
Right.
And that was for a number of reasons. I mean, as friends, like we struggled. Together, like he was my friend, like he was my true friend. And I learned some things from him, from family as well. Like just because you have a mom and a dad at home, the cookie cutter lifestyle or whatever, it's on, that doesn't really mean that you're better off and more, like it's not perfect.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're happy. And I started learning that, from them, and they were just like, we
real people.
like we're real. This is real. We fight, we argue. He was going through a rebellion stage, and I was there from the other side of it, and I just remember them being like, hey, you're really good. Like you're like you're a really big influence on him. So, and I just want you to know that, like, his mom told me that, and so much to the point where when I got kicked out of the school, they transferred their son to go to school with me. So they would drop him off every day at our house that he can go to school. And that was, we're still friends to this day.
Friendships are important.
Yep. And, the family was just a blessing. They taught me a lot of different things, and then I taught them some things about a few things like eating and certain things that we don't do, and it was interesting.
It's always an experience. They invited us over for Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
that was an experience.
Oh yeah.
So do they live near you guys then?
No.
They're in Augusta.
They're
in Augusta.
So
He's in Florida.
Down there for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we were just like in town visiting our family, and
they were like, "Hey,
come on over.
Yep, come over for dinner."
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna wait. And I was like, "Well, her parents' Thanksgiving looks a little different. Her family Thanksgiving is, and if you've seen our stuff, like it's a big deal. Like Thanksgiving is a really big deal for us. It's way more food than anybody needs, but we're gonna cook it all.
We're
gonna do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna eat it for days and days afterwards.
That's the best thing.
That's what we do.
That's the best thing about Thanksgiving.
And they waited for us, and we were like, "It's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is family time for me.
Right.
The way that my family, that's all family.
We eat.
You don't go anywhere.
Games.
We stay together. It's family. Unless you get invited over to the house, like we're not going. But they invited us over, and we were like, we're going because they're family. So, and we go, and it was an experience. Like I was like, oh, this is
you think you're not gonna get to elaborate on this?
Yeah.
I don't know they're gonna listen to this, so I'm not trying to put it.
They may. Miss Rockwell.
We cook differently. Let's just put it that way. We cook differently. So like certain dishes. Maybe
Okay.
They had a lot of dishes that we didn't. That we had.
So
I had never eaten
like
stuffing.
More southern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, ours is cornbread, macaroni and cheese, turkey, ham, like variety, corn, a bunch of other stuff.
They had green beans, mashed potatoes.
Exactly. Stuffing.
Bread stuffing.
Not
bread stuffing.
I didn't even, I did not know that. And it was the first time we had ever had that.
That's ours. That's ours.
I'm trying to think of what else. No, I bet they didn't have sweet potato casserole.
No.
They had rolls.
They had rolls.
They did.
Okay, so I can imagine.
But they can cook.
That's not bad.
They can cook.
It was delicious.
Yeah. It was really good.
The way it sounded, I'm thinking they're like microwaving some mac and cheese for you or something.
No,
it
was. I think the biggest difference. The biggest difference was they were just. It was like another dinner to them.
Oh, okay.
It was
like another meal.
Like we're just gonna sit down and eat.
And for us, it was like
it's an experience.
It's an experience. It's hours.
Yeah.
Like it's literally hours. We're gonna sit around for hours.
To make Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does. Like I'm
crazy.
prepping 2 days before.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
And then we eat for 3 days.
I think that varies from family to family.
I think it does.
It does. I think family to family.
White.
And some of the dishes that we serve is also just
it's
it's like a staple.
Right. I mean, like mine's sweet potato casserole, but we do not use marshmallows. which Justin's family does. Justin's family used to do marshmallows.
And that's a big deal.
And
she don't want to do marshmallows. She wants
to we do the pecan crust.
She wants to be Aunt Flossie's.
Would you do 2 different ones? Or
No. He's come over to my side.
Oh.
Yeah. Exactly.
And like cornbread stuffing.
So
we do cornbread stuffing.
Okay.
We do not do bread stuffing.
Garden piece.
I'm very against bread stuffing. No. I don't know why. I just don't enjoy it.
Paige did things different too. That was an experience. I mean, all of it. So it was an experience with her.
Teddy.
Things.
Now you guys are farmers, but like we said earlier, well, you said black people don't camp. I was saying, well, there's not too many farming. So how in the world? Because it doesn't sound like you came from farm backgrounds. Number one,
we didn't.
No.
Well, and they were in the military.
Yeah.
You were in the military. So how in the world? Now y'all are market farmers. So I'm seeing a divergence there.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily it wasn't one. What was the point? What was the pain? Was it a pain point that launched this radically different path?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a pain point.
Yeah.
Sure.
The pain point was I got sick. I was getting. We were now looking back. We were getting sick. Congestion. It first started with stomach issues with me. With traveling and stuff like that. I was traveling a lot, and I thought that it was because of the countries that I was going to. And the military was just like, take this stuff and, take these things and you'll be fine. Like, it's just, your stomach is going to be an issue. Until I went to, it was my first trip to South America, and I was there for 6 months, and I didn't get sick. I didn't get sick at all. I may have gotten sick from like one thing or whatever, but it was not like, it wasn't the stuff that I was, it wasn't congestion or anything like, I wasn't congested. My bowels were like, I didn't have any issues for the most part. And then I came home and it started again. And it was like, what? And the only difference was when I was in South America, I wasn't eating any dairy. There was no dairy. So dairy was considered unsafe. So you don't eat any dairy because it's right. That's the only way you can
South
get it.
America.
Exactly.
And people are so afraid.
Right. Don't eat any dairy. And I was like, okay, well, I wasn't eating any dairy. They were, people there were eating it, but they told us not to mess with it, so we did. My doc was like, hey, just stay away from these things. And I did. And I was like, man, but that's still weird because I still ate a little bit of dairy and I felt fine. So what is it that was making me sick? Well, in South America, all of the food that I was eating was, it was grown in my environment. I traveled a lot throughout South America, but for the most part, even in the cities that I lived in, we had access to. They were like, I told Paige we had a cook, and the cook, she's a chef. She didn't go to school, but she was a cook for our neighborhood. I would say, and every morning we would go out, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. One lady, she had a group of kids that would help her, but for the most part, you go over there. She goes to the market in the morning or whatever she brings in, and that's what we're eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if she didn't grow it, if we didn't have access to it, if it wasn't there locally, because a lot of the stuff you either had to wait for it to come in on a ship. The ships were the part of Colombia that I was living in. The ships were getting they didn't want to come because of pirates, or they didn't want to come because of weather issues and stuff like that. So it was like, we're on this island, you whatever you have is what you eat. So the food that I was eating there was really, really good. There wasn't a whole lot of inputs, like they were growing in their backyards. Everything was just very, very intentional. If I ate something, I knew where it came from, where it was processed and all, like we traced everything. And then I came back home and I started back eating ice cream and eating the usual stuff, and it started again. And sure enough, Paige was like, hey, there's a pill that you can take for the congestion. Suppose there's a supplement that you can take where you won't get as congested. And I was like, I'm not taking a supplement for that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't like taking medicine. I'm not going to do it. But then that got me thinking, why would somebody create a supplement? Why would there be a supplement to counter congestion. Like,
Was it just
that doesn't make
congestion?
any sense.
Yeah, and inflammation.
And some other stuff. And like bowel digestive issues, gut
because
issues.
people don't want to stop eating ice cream.
Exactly, right? And I was like, well, I'm going to eat ice cream. I work out really hard. I'm going to eat ice cream. My docs were saying, you know, my physician and my performance coach was like, you know, I would always be like, they'd be like, what is your diet? This is my diet. And when you eat ice cream every night, I was like, yeah, or okay, well, you work out, you do these things. As long as you continue to do this, you should be fine. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't an issue. My nutritionist said the same things. Like, you know, you're okay because you only eat ice cream. It's not like you're drinking milk in the morning and you're just drinking a bunch or eating cheese. And so they were just like, you know, it's just deal with it, right? It's okay. And after, you know, Paige talking about supplement, Paige started looking into it more. And some kind of way, it led us to the Netflix documentary. And then the Netflix documentary just opened our eyes to, like...
Which Netflix documentary?
It was Food Inc. Food Inc. was the first one. And it was like, that was the first time we had been, you know, exposed to, man, this is where food comes from? You know, before, I didn't grow up on a farm. We weren't exposed to it. We just went to the grocery store, got what we needed. That was it. After watching that, we were just like, you know, upset, you know, just, I don't know. For me, it was just like, I live in America, and you telling me that these people have been making these choices for me. I knew nothing about this, and it's my own fault. And I was like, okay, well, what's the fix of this? Organic. So we started like trying to buy, you know, as much as we could that was organic, and then we saw another documentary, sustainability, and it's talking about labeling and all this stuff, and it was just like,
you're like, well, we can't even trust the label,
right? And so so at this point we just feeling, you know, just feeling lost.
Get it from a farmer.
Yep. So we're gonna get it from a farmer. That's the answer. Stop going to the grocery store. Go to a farmer. We started looking for farmers. Found a farmer's market. The city that we lived in, Fayetteville, there was one farmer's market, and it was mostly, you know, they had two vendors. I think they had a fish vendor or protein, fish and chicken. So we started buying our chicken. We were buying it from him, pasture raised, like legit. We tried to buy a cow. Looked around for these farms, a whole cow. We go out to look at the farm, and it's grass-fed beef is what the marketing said. Everybody, oh, that's where you get your cows from. Go get your cows from. We're going out there, right? We're going to take a family trip. And we go out to the farm, and we get out there. And first of all, he told us, he was like, well, I'm only going to be there for these amount of hours. That was the first red flag. I'm only there 2 hours a day. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so we go out there, and we're looking around. We see these cows. And I was like, is there more? Ignorant. I didn't know nothing about how much pasture is needed for whatever, but I did know that there was no way that he had enough grass for the cows. Like, there was no way. It was like,
I don't know anything, but I know this is not
yes.
right.
Do you own? Is that your property over there? He's like, no, that's another farm. I was like,
I want to go buy from them then.
He kept trying to. He was like, well, and then he's tried to like tell us about his methods, or he just kind of diverged from me. He was like, well, you know, majority of the time they're their own pasture, and then I give them this supplement, or what did he say? I give them this something. It was grain.
It was.
And it was grain. I don't remember what he was giving them, but it was grain. I remember being like, he was like, but it's the best of the, you know, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. It's like, well, I got this new farmhouse over here, and these are the different cut sheets. And I was like, no, he just seemed very like, he just talked a lot. And it wasn't about farming. It was about processes of, you know, the actual transaction. And yeah, it was just like, I remember, you know, I took the cut sheet, and I think I took the cut sheet.
Yeah, I was like, are we going to buy like a steak or something?
Oh, yeah, Paige was like, we should buy something. We came all the way out here.
We should buy like something. And he's like, no.
Were you figuring it out like he was?
No.
Or were you just being nice?
I was being nice.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I feel like
we just drove all this way.
out
Yeah,
here.
it was a drive.
Like 2 hours.
It was.
But you weren't having the same, oh no, type of...
Yeah, no.
I mean, I was just like, I don't know, we should be nice. We drove all the way out here. This man keeps talking.
Okay.
We should go.
Paige was like, I think hers was more like, I'm not going to say it was more like pity. Like, it was. And I mean, it was more like pity. And I felt like, I didn't feel pity. I felt lied to, and it was just like, you're trying to deceive me.
Okay.
Like you know,
he knows grass fed
exactly,
Right.
or he wouldn't have said majority of the time they're eating grass, but you know, like he said all the right things. It was like, and now that now looking back, I know that he said all the right things, but at the time I was like, but I know this. I guess this is one of the good things, benefits of not being growing up in agriculture. You if it says grass fed, I'm thinking that it only eats grass. Mm-hmm. That's my assumption, even if I don't know any better. If you tell me that it's grass fed, I'm gonna think that he only eats grass. That's what I would think, because that's just me. I was like, well, that doesn't seem. But you're selling it as grass fed. Why don't you just say it was pasture raised? Like,
because you gotta ask that next question.
Because it's a marketing
greenwashing.
Exactly, that's what it was.
But is it finished on grass though? Because that's like a key.
I wasn't.
So much
and if you don't, then they're like,
all of that was, and that's what
I think most people are like you. They're falling for the trap. They're
not volunteering the information.
Yeah.
Like, oh, by the way, I finished them on corn the last 100 days.
oh yeah, it's like a don't ask, don't tell policy.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's like they're on grass. We feed them grass. But
they also get this grain.
They
get this grain.
A little bit of grain.
To help them, like, to get them, like, he made it, he said all the right things. And then that was like, we left there. I just had this feeling of just like, I don't know what he said, or it just wasn't right. Like, if I invest this amount of money in this was an investment. We were about to spend, $2,600. It was a good amount of money.
Gonna buy a cow.
He's selling it at 100% grass-fed prices.
Yep.
Right.
But it wasn't.
It was not.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so you were going to buy a whole cow process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pricey.
Yeah. And so I was just like, we're gonna stay with our chicken, and that's what we did. We just kept eating chicken. We kept eating chicken. At the time, we were eating a lot of fish. And then our chicken farmer, ran out of chicken, and I remember, I think we were about to go out of town, and we were trying to get enough so that we were like, okay, well, we need to get enough so when we come back we'll have. And sure enough, he was like, we're out, and it's gonna be 4 weeks or something. I remember being like, what? What do we do for 4 weeks? Like, what are we supposed to do? You're the farmer, so it was, that was I go home frustrated.
You're supposed to have this.
Yes, you're a poultry farmer. Like, how do you make and that led me to the thing of, how do you make a living if you, like, what happens when you run out of chicken? And I remember thinking that, like, how in the world is he, like, what does he do when he run out of chicken? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, if that's your job, like, if this is all you do, but it wasn't all he did. He had another job. This is just his side thing. And I was like, at the time I didn't know. And which is, I don't care. I mean, as long as you produce a product, the right way to our standards, then, but he ran out. And I remember being like, and he didn't offer up any suggestions. He was just like, we're out. Like, what? What do we do? Like, we felt helpless. Like, I felt helpless. I was like, well, where am I supposed to go? We looked around a lot of places to go, and we were going to make a few hour drives to go get more food. And I started doing a little bit more research. I'm like, pasture poultry, how do you do this? And I'm reading, at this time, I'm like reading everything.
Still in the military? You're still in the military
active duty.
This time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Still active duty. One of the reasons why I think I was more frustrated than anything else was because we were on a schedule. We had a schedule. We have soccer in the morning. We leave. I'm rushing people, to get off the soccer field, to get in the car, to go to the farmer's market, to get the meat before he leaves. And then I get there, and then he's gone. So I remember being like, I structured my day around, coming to this farmer's market. We didn't eat, we were living. We had adjusted our lives to, like, okay, we got 2 chickens, we're going to cut it in half, we're going to eat half a chicken or whatever, like, to get to this date.
You were dedicated to not go to the grocery store.
Very dedicated to get protein.
For our protein.
Yes.
Okay.
What was it about that movie that struck such a conviction?
Because everything, I had seen it already. I see it traveling in other countries. You see it, but you don't really know, you don't get you look at them in pity, and you're like, oh look, you know, they don't have this, or they don't have the grocery stores, they run out of meat. Like if you go to the grocery store in certain parts of South America, if you go on a Saturday evening, you're not going to get any meat. Everything that's left over is everything that nobody wants, which you probably shouldn't take. Like they run out. What they have in the early morning is the freshest, and what's left over at the end of the day is because refrigeration is the issue there.
Yeah, right.
So you know, being there, you're just like, they process as they need them. Like they're processing throughout the week. You know, you get it first thing in the morning because it was processed last night. You know.
So when you were eating this farm chicken, were your digestive issues, they had gone away then?
They had.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that was
that
one
why
of the
you're
reasons you were so committed, maybe.
So it's not just the movie.
Yeah, it wasn't just the movie.
Oh, wait. I got this launching pad from this movie. Now I feel better.
I do
now
feel
there's
better.
no way I'm going to eat anything.
Yeah. Started feeling.
Store.
It wasn't 100%, but I wasn't feeling better yet. We could taste the difference in the meat.
Right.
Okay.
We could taste this is different.
All the issues are resolved.
This was different. Like this tastes different. Like at the time, I didn't know that I was feeling. I didn't know that yet. It wasn't 100%. I think the thing that changed it was the dairy is what we started researching more about dairy. And then we started learning about cows. And then we started learning about all the, like, it wasn't, the dairy was what kind of pushed us towards. It's like, okay, well, dairy is a big issue. I'm not willing to give it up yet. So we're going to eat healthier proteins. We're going to eat more protein. Like, we're going to eat healthy proteins. And sure enough, that was what.
We just didn't get milk.
We weren't drinking. My mom drank a lot of milk. We didn't drink milk like that. We stopped drinking milk like we were before. We weren't really big milk eaters or drinkers. But that was the at this time we were researching all this stuff, and I'm like into it. When I'm not at work, when I'm at work, it's on my phone. Like we're just reading about the system. But then the video broke it because the video showed us that our system was broken and not the other way. Not the other way. The way that I was eating in South America was the way to eat. Right, because the farmer was also the chef. Like, she's cooking, and she knows that whatever she gives or whatever she puts on this soil, whatever she puts on here, whatever she gives this animal is what we're gonna eat. Like, she knows this, so she's, I guess, less prone, and because they didn't have access to those other things too.
Yeah, so that was one thing when we lived in Honduras. We were there for 3 months, and Justin pointed out, he's like, these people can't afford to go buy the fertilizers and the pesticides and stuff. It's about as organic as you can get because of the supply issues. You know? And the other thing is if she doesn't grow it and harvesting it herself, your chef lady in South America, then she's going to the market, and that's super fresh.
Exactly.
So you're eating like all fresh. Everything.
So what are you eating now that the chicken's gone?
So listen, that's why I was frustrated when we left the beef man, because I was like, well, what we gonna eat? I remember being like,
well, what do we
I'm cooking.
What was your answer to that, Derek?
Derek tried to act like he was.
I bet you had
I'm
it
the
to stick
one
around
cooking
home.
the meal.
Because you didn't buy any beef.
We didn't buy any beef.
No,
we
and
didn't.
Like,
No.
We
Are you getting hot at this point?
Oh no, we found another farm. We found pork.
Oh,
we started eating
found
pork. We found a pork farmer.
So we
Bless
did.
your heart.
We did find.
Now you're only eating pork.
Yeah, we found a pork
I
farmer.
was really irritated because I was like,
because that's hard to come up with like a lot of dishes from like pork, like chicken. And
I'm tired of chicken.
Right.
Yeah.
Tired
But we found pork.
Yeah, we found pork. And we went we found pork, and that was the like, oh man, he has pork. Like, and then we started eating more pork. And then he started having a few chicken. I think we got a few from him. But at that point, it was like, this all happened within like 30 days. It was like, chicken farmer ran out. We found a pork farmer. We went to, beef was a failure. I found a YouTube video. I found just the Justin Rhodes show.
Did you really?
I did.
Oh my god!
I don't even remember what I was looking at. Pasture poultry. That's what I was like. Pasture poultry. How do I do this on my own, or how do I get it? Why did this dude run out? Is what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
How did a chicken farmer run out? That was what led me to.
You weren't trying to find out how to do it on your own.
Nope.
You were trying to find out how he ran out.
How he ran out.
Like what's the issue? So
yes.
you can
And
help
what's
him
the
out.
holdup? That's what I do. I was a problem solver in the military. You solve problems,
So he's
then
trying
my
to solve
video
the
popped
problems.
up.
Yeah.
your video. I was looking at pasture poultry or something. I was looking at pasture poultry, and I don't remember exactly. There's three things that I saw multiple times. One was the someone left there, and I didn't know that they were all together. A man left his job.
Mm-hmm.
A man left his job who's known today. Well, a man left his job and is now farming full time.
You can say who it is.
I saw that. I don't remember. I don't
This was
remember
on
if that
my
was
channel?
it.
Yeah.
It was on your channel.
That was Paul Grieve.
It was
Paul
Paul
Grieve.
Grieve.
Yeah.
Primal
Yes.
Pasture.
Primal
Yeah.
Pastures.
Normal guy
Normal
quits
guy.
his job and farms or something.
That
like
was
that.
it. And I remember
That's
seeing
been a
that
viral video.
and being like, I saw it. I was like, man, that's really cool.
And then he sent it to me,
resonating
like, you
with
need to
it
watch
because at the time I was also
You're like, who's
contemplating
this
a
guy,
transition.
Did you
A
feel
career
like a normal
transition.
guy at that time too?
I felt
Did you
more
relate with that
normal
part
after I
of it?
saw his video because his
Okay.
job and my job were the same. We just worked for two different people.
Okay.
So that made me feel like, wait a minute, that's interesting. Why would he leave to go do that? Because I was considering making the leap of leaving.
And starting to farm.
And leaving the
just
military
leaving
just
the
to get
military.
out.
Oh.
And I was, at the time, I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do next. Farming was not on the map. It
Okay.
was
All right.
what
Why
I was
not?
going to do afterwards. I saw that video, and I was like,
Why was farming not on the map? Because you just never thought
who
about
wants
it.
to be a farmer?
Yeah.
You know,
Right?
like
It is. It's a very
You hear-
negative.
you hear bad
like,
things about it.
Exactly. That was it was. I didn't look down on them. I didn't know any.
Right.
The ones that I did know, they
the
grew
chicken guy who
produce.
ran out.
And the chicken guy who wasn't the real farmer, right? Because he ran out of chicken. He was real. He was
I know,
like
I
he
know.
was a good farmer. He's a
It was
good
just
good
hard
man.
time.
Just hard times. But yeah, it wasn't on the map. Like I wasn't looking for a career. I was looking for chicken. And I saw that video.
Write it
I
down,
was like-
folks. That's the quote. That's the quote of the show.
I was looking for chicken. Yes. I was looking for
That's a
chicken.
t-shirt.
Yeah. And his story was like, he said it. He said, I was feeling, doing this stuff, and I was feeling, I got sick. His was from Lyme, but still
No,
it was
he had
like,
eczema. I think he had eczema.
Wait,
didn't
you
he?
might be talking about somebody else.
Paul-
no, we're talking about Paul Greaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think
So
he
Paul Greaves he got Lyme disease when he was in Lyme disease when he was in sniper school.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
knows this because he's studied it more than we have.
Yeah. But at the time, there was no connection.
Okay.
He
had skin issues. They
Exactly.
didn't know
That
it
was what.
Lyme.
Yeah, he didn't know at the
Okay.
time that this was going to help him
Okay.
with his. Yeah.
Okay.
So in the video, it was like, oh, wait a minute. Issues with like health issues. It wasn't no Lyme because Lyme I wouldn't even know. I was like,
Yeah.
that wouldn't make no sense to me. But I was like, man, that's interesting. I'm sick. Doing the same thing. There is something to this pasture poultry thing. I'm not trying to farm yet. I just want chicken. How do I figure this out? Started out with 20. He said he started out with 50 chickens, and I remember watching that video. I never watched it again. And then I watched another video of the next video was at this point the Justin Rhodes show was now on YouTube, and I was never on YouTube. I didn't watch. I didn't have a reason to watch YouTube at the time, and sure enough. I Googled pasture poultry, and then Joel Salath in one of his videos came up. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about everything that I have heard and seen in these things. It's just like, in order for this to change, you can do this on your own. Like, it's just I heard those words. Mm. And I don't remember, I hadn't read any of his books yet. And he sends, I'm on there trying to figure out how can I do this myself? Can I do this? Joe Sosden said that you could in that video. So I started thinking about this. Joe Sosden said that you can do this.
He said you can do it.
He said you
I
can
think
do
that's
it.
the title of the book.
Sent the video to
Yeah,
Paige.
you can farm.
You can farm. Yeah. I hadn't
That
read
was
it
your
yet.
first book.
I hadn't read it yet. I sent that video of the guy of Paul Grease to Paige.
Yeah.
And 2 nights, I saw it one night. The next night, that day I went to work and I was thinking, I was like, how can I do this? I ordered Joe's book, Pastor Poultry Profits. Mm-hmm. It didn't come in yet. It hadn't come in. I had to wait for it. And it didn't come in. So, just to learn more about Pastor Poultry. Saw the video. I watched your video. You put out another video about homesteading. I can't remember the exact videos, but and it was just you on the farm. And I remember I just kept hearing this over and over. Can you do this? Do you think you can do this? You can do this. Like, you don't think that you can? You can. I don't remember the video, but I remember you saying that. And I remember it just played over in my head. I was like, you know what? Okay. I watched another Joe Solomon video, and in this video, he says, you're probably if you're thinking about farming, one of the reasons that will keep you from doing it is your friends are going to think you're crazy. Mm-hmm. The law is they're going to tell you that you can't do it, which I had already saw that they said I couldn't do it. They said, no, you can't raise. You live in a house in a city. You don't have a backyard. We lived in a very, very high-end subdivision with no fencing. So it's a big deal. So people, they pay attention to things out there. Lawn has to be a certain...
They do.
Like,
they
pay attention, right? Houses you don't sell houses there. You recommend people to move in there. So we got into this neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
So you can't... It's a big deal. My neighbor, hens started... he came by the house and said that he was going to be building... We paid no attention to this guy. That he's going to be building a coop. And he's going to have some hens. And if they come on our property, they belong to him. There will be eggs. And if we want them, we can have them. And I remember, we're just like, dude, we got soccer practice, ballet. I'm out of town multiple times a week. Like, I'm just trying to cut my grass, get things like
some chicken.
Right? Like, I'm thinking about chicken. I'm reading these books, reading this stuff. And I see these hens in my front yard. And I remember being like, if they got hens... I can raise chickens. Joel Saunders said, just order the chickens. Yeah. Just do it. Like, the only thing keeping you from doing it is, like, just doing it. And I remember being like, okay. And that night, I watched that video again. And I was like, man, Paul said that he did 50. They put him in the backyard. We don't have a backyard. We can figure it out. I ordered them. I ordered the 25. I ordered 25 chickens. And then told Paige the next day. Yeah. Because this is like at midnight. Like, I'm in there trying to...
Paige, what'd you say?
She sleep. I'm eating ice cream.
Hey, at least you didn't wake her up.
No. I ordered the chicks. Closed the computer, and went to sleep. And a part of me was like, when I woke up the next morning, I was like, I'm hoping that I'm going to get an email and it says that, you can't... Like, what are you doing? You can't order chickens in the mail. I don't even know how this works.
You can't order chickens in the mail. We lied.
Right? Yeah. No, I got a scam. Yeah. I was hoping that it was a scam. Deep down, I was like, because if it ain't, I got to tell Paige that I ordered chickens. Like, I go to work.
You could have canceled.
Right, I could have. But how do you can't... See, I was thinking about that.
You can't cancel if it's a scam.
I was thinking about how do you... So, at that point, I had gotten a confirmation. I was like... They sent me an email from the hatchery, and they were like, the chicks are, whatever. And at that point, I was like, if I cancel, what happens to the chicks? Like, I can't cancel.
They're going to die.
Like,
they kill them.
Right? They're going to call or something and say, like, these are yours, We've only ever had a dog.
They're going to call the police on you.
Exactly.
Here comes the animal police.
We've only ever had a dog. So it was like, I don't know. Like... At that point,
so good.
Man, at that point, I told Paige, and
what did you say?
I don't remember what my exact.
It was a text.
It was a text message.
I was at work.
Yeah, he sent me like a picture of the receipt, and I was like, "What is this?" And he was like, "Well, it's a receipt," and I was like, "What?" And he was like. I ordered some chickens. And I was like, are you serious? Like, it was just kind of like, what?
Some babies, some
this
chicks.
This doesn't even make
sense.
Old
chicks.
And this is the part of the story that we've never, I don't think we've talked about this, but like, so where Derek says he's a problem solver, like I too am a problem solver.
Yeah.
And so where Derek was just like, well, I'm about to do this thing, I was like, well, okay, but we kind of need land. Like I don't know.
So
you're the practical.
We just learned something recently. I'm a problem solver for other people's issues.
Yes.
Not your own.
I'm a visionary. I come up with really good ideas. But my own problems.
farm consulting.
Yes,
Exactly.
That's what he needs to do. That's
Yes,
what he
we
needs
just
to do.
figured that out. Like I was like 2 months or 2 weeks ago, I was
You
like,
don't need to be farming.
Whoa.
We're gonna talk later,
Yes,
'cause
yes.
I got some problems.
Yes,
to
yes.
solve.
And
yes,
I
yeah.
am the one who's like internal, like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, so you want to do this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what we need to do.
So
You're
Paige-
Closer, huh?
Paige was
Closer,
like
yes.
all these other things, and I didn't have an answer for any of it yet. It was just like figure it out as you go. Like you can do this, and that's
Joel
what we
said
did.
it? Joel said it?
Joel said it right, and at this point, I'm like everything farming. At this, I'm everything else is cut off. Everything farm. I'm reading about just everything and everything you can think about. So I got a book, built a chicken tractor in the yard. We built it in the yard.
No, we thought we were gonna be like, so we found someone with land.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
like I said,
We
I'm
leased some
trying
land.
to
Yeah, 'cause
find
you're
this
like,
problem.
we
I'm
can't-
like,
Yeah, yeah.
we can't raise these chickens in this neighborhood. Like, we're gonna go
Why
to
were
jail.
Why were you okay with just going up and leaving this neighborhood and going get some land?
Well,
Oh, she was just okay with us
I was
leasing,
trying to
staying in our house.
We're
okay,
staying in the
yeah,
house,
right,
but
right.
I'm just thinking we've got
Right.
25 chickens coming. I don't
Yeah.
know when. We don't have.
When? I didn't even
Yeah.
look.
We do
Okay.
even have enough space to do this because
Paige
like
didn't think it was possible.
we didn't have a backyard. We had like a really big front yard
Yeah.
and like a side piece. So it was like a
He's
driveway
laughing.
that was open, and but it
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
So we didn't have any type of real.
We realized that we didn't have. We realized that we didn't have enough after we had ordered the chicks because I started learning these things afterwards.
So
I was
you
like,
ordered the chicks and then you're learning.
yes,
It's the
I'm
best
learning.
way to do it.
Yeah. I'm like,
mean,
okay,
it's
what
a
do I
good
need?
way. Yeah.
You know, I need a fence. I saw
Figure it
one of
out.
yours. You had the electric netting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have time. This is how this happened. The chicks came faster, way faster than I thought. They came and it was like, I'm at work or
He told me they were gonna come after I had the baby.
I wasn't ready. We weren't ready.
We weren't even.
We were not
we
ready.
weren't pregnant.
Pregnant?
She was
Yeah,
pregnant.
I was pregnant.
And like,
At the this is like last
At the end.
trimester.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was. Yeah. So
It was
2
the
months. She
last
was.
trimester. I was. that's
She
what-
had the baby the week before we
I had the
processed.
baby.
So it was
like
9
2 weeks. Yeah, we did because I
So
saw.
she's
I
like
saw the
30
video clip.
1 week's pregnant.
Yes. And we got
It's
chickens
like-
coming. We don't have a fence. We have a dog. We have no idea what we're doing. I started watching a bunch of your videos and I saw the net. I was like, you know what? I told Paige because we got the land, had the land cleared, right?
It was a friend from church. Like they had some property they weren't using.
Yeah, we got the land.
So we got it cleared, and then I had the baby.
And we didn't have time.
And we
I
didn't have
didn't have
time.
time
It was
to.
like,
I
well,
built
we
a
gotta
chicken
do it in the
tractor.
yard.
All these issues came up. Everything there was a plan. The plan was we were gonna raise the chickens at the house in the brooder. After when they were done brooding, we were gonna take them over to the new house, put them in the tractor over there.
Right.
Just the land.
At the land over there. Well, Paige had the baby. Well, Paige started getting closer, and we were like, okay, well, and I finished the chicken tractor. And at this point, like, I was like, the chicks need to get out of the brooder. They were like in 2 weeks, and they were getting big. And I was like, we can't wait. So I ordered the net.
Wait, I have to interject here. So Derek is out there building this chicken tractor, and he built it in like 2 days.
Yeah.
And my mom came down because she
She's coming
was
up
like,
with
you
the
know,
baby.
well, she thought like I was getting her to have the baby, so she was like, man, Derek is working really hard to build that tractor.
Yeah,
It's like, I don't know
throughout the
what
night.
he's doing,
Yes.
but he's just out there working.
I'm
so
working during the
hard.
daytime, and then I
I
come
was-
home, and the only time I have is
He was
from
just-
5
He
to
was just trying to get that thing
I go to
done.
sleep.
Speaking of parents, then at this point, are they? You said the friends will
Yeah.
think you're crazy.
They-
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
She,
Think you were
she,
nuts.
She
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"What are y'all
So-
doing?"
Just
Yeah.
buy some chicken at the grocery store.
Is that what
Yeah.
she said?
That stuff doesn't
Well,
matter.
my
Yeah.
mom is really fun though. She was like, "This is so fun." But
Yeah.
she's like, "But it is crazy."
Yeah.
They write that down. That's another
That's my
T-shirt.
mom.
So this wouldn't be the first thing that they've
I don't know,
realized.
big crazy.
We have this is a pattern. Now remember, this is a pattern. So at this point, they know who we are. If I say that I'm going to do something, like I'm going to do it. If we say we're going to do it, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So not waiting, not asking for permission. Hence we got married. Nobody knew. Like these are things we're going. Like we're just doing what we feel like we need to do. Not surprised. It's just like
this is a pattern.
This is a pattern.
I mean, they're surprised that we were chose to farm.
Yeah, that's a surprise.
Got to be out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
We're not surprised that you guys are going off the rails.
No.
Oh yeah, no.
Because you already went off the rails. You went to the military.
She left college. She walked away from college to get married. She didn't say that, but that's like we got married. I proposed, and then I was going to deploy.
They were not thrilled with that.
It's hard to be...
No.
I mean, we moved like 3 times, and she had to transfer, and it became extremely difficult. Like, I mean, it was just...
Okay.
She was trying to be a good wife, and to a husband that was, working all the time, trying to get in school, and trying to find a house. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was just a lot. And I remember being like... You don't have to do any of this. Like, you can, do whatever you want to do. You want to go to school? Go to school. Like, I want you to go to school.
If you don't want to go to school,
if you don't want to school, don't go to school. Like, I want you to, be happy because I've made you, I put you in a position where you've had to, like, choose. And, having a deployed spouse, is not an easy thing in a wartime environment. So,
what's your sister saying at this point?
My sister, I didn't tell anybody. I wasn't telling anybody. Only time people knew is because they came to the house.
The only
I kept
reason
it
she knew
hush.
is because her mom came to the house.
What do they say when they come to the
I
house?
tell my family stuff though.
Now?
No, not now. When your friends and family come to the house, and that's the only time you tell them anything. What did they say? This chicken tractor.
Oh yeah. I was like, so we've got chicken.
Yeah. That was the market research. That was our market research.
It really was our market research though.
That's hilarious.
It was so the chicken tractor, and this is like I know a lot of people are like, how do you get started? So we built a chicken tractor, and it was beautiful. It was nice. The kids and I did it together during this time. I'm working with the kids, and we're like we have baby chicks at the house, and it's just I'm learning animal husbandry, and I'm discovering something that at the time I knew nothing about what was happening. I'm working with my kids now. I'm always gone. So the only time that we work together is maybe if we go to a park and we play on a Saturday or on a Sunday after church. But outside of that, it's always business. Like business, church, school, we're always doing something. So
soccer practice. This
was soccer practice. We're always doing something, but not really just us. And at this point, we were like just out here doing stuff, like building. What are you building? I don't know. We're trying to make a chicken tractor. And the kids are super excited. There's chicks in here, and they're just... I'm seeing them, and it's just like, man, this is amazing. Like, I don't know why I'm so attracted to this. And at this point, it wasn't just about the chickens. It's like, I'm building things with my hand, and I had never built anything before. And then I finished the chicken tractor. Paige was asleep, I remember. And I remember then, like, I come upstairs, and then I think Paige made a big deal about it. I heard her say something. And she was like, or maybe it was to her mom, and she's like, he worked really hard on doing that. And I remember being like, I work really hard, and they never see it. They never see the work that I do.
Wow.
So,
because you're not even in the same town.
No.
When you're doing the
like
work.
they occasionally they'll come see me jump out of an airplane, but other than that, like they don't see
you
me
jump
like
out of airplanes?
Yeah, when I was in the military. Yeah.
And you were working hard, but they never saw
But
it.
They never saw it.
They weren't a part of it.
They weren't a part of it.
Yeah.
So, and I never understood, like, why don't y'all get out work? In my head, I'm like, I work anyway. So, but they never saw it, and then that was the first time I had ever heard it. And her see my work, and I remember being like, I work like I can do, like I work hard. I remember being like but they don't see it. So, and that was like that's when I started thinking more like that's when the seed was planted, because I knew that I wanted to leave the military, but I didn't know what for or what I was going to do. And so after chicken track was too big for us to move to the property, I didn't have a way of moving it.
We didn't have a way of moving.
I couldn't move it.
Land.
It was too big.
How this all works out,
We
right?
paid.
But
We have this land clear. We got livestock.
Can't get the chicken tractor over there.
We cannot even get the chicken tractor over there.
None of my friends have trailers.
Actually,
they don't have trucks.
When
Like,
you were talking about
we don't
it,
have
I was like
anything.
wondering, how are they going to get it over there?
Yeah.
That was one of my thoughts.
Didn't move it. I was like,
Didn't do it.
at the time, I didn't even have a truck. I didn't even have a truck at the time, so we couldn't even. I was
What
like,
about your
well,
white friend? He didn't have a truck.
I did not have a truck. We were using. I think I had a little sports car, like it was a little tiny wagon.
It was like a.
And Paige had an SUV, but still was like, well, I don't.
Couldn't
Whatever.
track
Like,
it in.
what do you do?
You didn't have equipment.
And then I thought about it as we were driving over there one day for me to like make a YouTube. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do some content. Drive over to the property. We still have this content we never posted.
We've got a lot of content out.
We drive over there, and as I'm driving there, I was like, wait a second. That means I gotta drive over multiple times a day. Like, I got a newborn at home. Kids, I was like, this is. I went back to I was like, Paige, these shits gotta stay at the house.
And I was like, are you sure?
There you go. I wrapped that
idea.
chicken tractor in plastic. One, to keep it insulated, because it was at this point it was getting cold. I wrapped it in plastic, put a tarp over it, put it in the front yard, and people thought that it was a greenhouse. And I was like,
it's okay.
At Christmas time,
Exactly.
Derek put a wreath on top of it because I just
I
found
did.
a video of Derek talking
Go
about
with that.
this. Derek was like, well, I put a wreath on top of it to be festive, so
Yeah.
maybe my neighbors.
Yeah,
will think
people
it
won't
looks
really,
good.
our neighbors didn't say anything. No
That is
issues.
Hilarious.
People started coming over. Her mom saw it. They started asking questions. We're talking about it. Friends from church and kids from school. And the kids at this point are talking about it. Everybody's super
Every
excited.
time I'm at school.
And the school is talking about it. They're pulling us aside.
Got chickens.
Y'all raising chickens in your
Yeah.
neighborhood, like I told him the headmaster of the school like pulled me aside one day, and he was like, "So there's these stories," and I was like, "Oh no!" Like the last time we had this conversation was because there was a bullet shell that it was just a shell that fell out of one of my uniforms, and one of the kids took it to school. It was just a shell, nothing.
Yeah.
And, of course, the school was just like, hey, it's just a
You can't
conversation,
allow
whatever.
this to
Like,
happen.
right? Like, we understand. All of y'all, like,
Right.
we understand. So when he said this, he was like, but he said, are we hearing these things about chickens? And I was like, no, this is real. Like, it's a real thing. We have real chickens. And, like, at our house. And he was like, okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were just like, the kids are not making up stories.
Yeah, they keep coming up with stories.
And the school got super excited about it. And at this point, like, kids, the kids' friends are coming over.
To see them.
And they started asking. A few friends from our CrossFit gym were like, we'll buy some of those. And I remember being like, what? You can have one. And they were like, no, you don't understand. Like, we'll buy those. Like, what you're raising is probably the freshest thing that we could find. And they had serious health issues. Like, very, very, like, life-threatening issues. And so everything that they ate, like, it was a big deal. So, and when they said something about it, I remember being like, if they think that there's something to this then. That was the seed, and I started researching.
That was the
like,
business
what?
seed.
People,
Yeah.
and they're like, we'll pay.
Cool.
Like, how much you want? And
How much you want?
like,
You're
how much?
I don't know.
Like, you can take them. Like, try like whatever. Like, and they were willing to pay for them. And I remember thinking about paying the price that we asked.
Well,
I was like,
then
if we
Derek-
sell it, it's gonna have to. It's
But
gonna
then
cost
you
this
started-
amount.
But then you started fussing because you were like, you can't keep selling all these chickens because then there's not going to be enough for us. And I
Yeah,
was
we
like,
weren't
well,
gonna have enough.
Did
Yeah,
you-
she was selling
It's not
all
that
of them.
many.
Did you save any for yourself?
We did.
We did.
We
We saved
did.
a
What was
couple.
that like eating that first chicken?
That first chicken,
I have a
It-
picture of it.
the first
Oh.
chicken that we ate was it was interesting because we harvested them ourselves in our yard out back,
Yeah.
rented equipment, all that stuff. And we ate it the next day. And I remember we sat down and we eat at the table. That's the only way we eat. But it was so different sitting down and just, I didn't even want to eat it. I just sat there and was just like, man, I don't really care what the bird tastes like. It's just a feeling of feeling like I did this. Now I've fed myself in environments where I didn't have a choice but to eat what I'd like. So I've eaten things and I've cooked for myself, but it ain't the same as hunting and preparing something and raising and harvesting something. It's two different things. And at the time, I wasn't even hungry. I don't remember what the bird tastes like, but I just remember I just felt full. It was just, I don't know. it was what I had heard, and it made sense. And I was like, you know what? I want to do this. I want to do this. I don't know how, but I want to do this. I want to keep feeling this. Like, I want to keep doing this. We're going to raise our own birds. You know, at this time, like, not for anybody else, we're going to raise it for ourselves. We're raising all our own birds. All our chicken is ours. And then when we had people asking if we were going to sell, that I had already done the numbers. And at that point, the pasture poultry profits had come in. I had read it. And I was like, I can do this. The numbers, I looked at the numbers. People are willing to pay this price for it. We can do it. And we have our communities asking us for it. Like, hey, you know, there's no farmers markets. People want this. Our community wants this. We're going to do it. We want it. And yeah, so we started looking for land after that. Like, I told Paige, hey, I want to.
And what year was that?
I want to do this.
2019.
Okay.
Did you ever have a moment when you were working with the kids? You talked about working with the kids on the chicken track. Did you ever have a tearing up moment? Was it that acute?
At the
where you realized you were working together with your kids and
the harvest,
you enjoyed this.
when we harvest the day of the harvest, processing day. That was.
Tell me about that moment.
So while my kids had never seen me work before, they've also never, like, I've never. I've eaten. So I've had to live off the environment before, and eating something that I found or that I've hunted. You don't think about it. It's just, I got to do it because I got to eat. That's it. But chickens in a chicken tractor, I've raised them. I see them. I've raised them from little. It's just like, I gotta take these out there, and I'm gonna kill, like, and I gotta take their life. That the taking the life thing was like so hard for me. I was like, in my head, like, I had been thinking about that for weeks, and I'm just like, processing day. Like, I was actually planning on getting them processed at a facility, but I don't know if you know this, but you cannot get 25 chickens processed they won't even. They laughed. They actually laughed. And they were like, they laughed at me on the phone. They were like, yeah, no. How many you have? They were like, well, yeah, we can get you in. I was like, oh, cool, great. And they were like, okay, how many do you have? I was like, 25. And she was like, 2,500? I was like, 25. And she was like, you need at least 200. And I was like, well, I only have 25. And she was like, well,
if I had 200, I would bring all 200.
Right, I would. She was like, ask them, reach out to the community, county extension office, ask some people. They may know somebody that may be able to do it, whatever. They were just like, but unfortunately, like, we don't. Like, there's some books and stuff. And I was like, books? Like, what? I'm not processing it. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to do this. And you had a video, and watched that video multiple times. We
watched a couple of other videos. We watched a couple of Joel's
videos, but
whoever had videos, we were watching.
The kill part was like still, like, that was the hardest part. So on the harvest day, that was just like, how do I do this? There was just a lot of questions. The kids see it. They see it as a taking of a life. Some people, like, that's what they see it, because they don't know any difference. They just see that thing is alive and you're about to kill it. Like, there's no connection to all chickens go through this. Like, all the chicken that you eat go through this at some point. They don't know that. But we talked about it from the beginning. Dad talked about this. We're gonna eat these chickens. These are our chickens. I have been talking it, not really understanding the depth of it all. And so on the day of, it was just like, okay, we're gonna do this, and it was just, I didn't know exactly how to start and what to say, but I knew that I just explained to them, hey, this is gonna feed our family. We have no chicken in the refrigerator. I don't know, like, we don't have anything. We can go out and purchase this, but we've raised them, and they, are now going to feed our family. And we had talked about them. We know they've heard stories through scripture about, things that have a place in life. And chickens, they're for the nourishment of our body. So in order for us to do that, we have to do this. So, and we're going to do it.
A lot of teaching moments.
It was a whole lot of teaching moments. And it was like me teaching because it gave me the confidence to do it. Like, as I'm teaching it, I'm like coaching myself, and, you know, because it's like, and I'm like, I've done this before. Like, why is this so hard? And sure enough, like, you know, we pray, and, you know, we get after it. And
Mayor prays.
And Mayor.
I have a video of Mayor praying.
Mayor.
And Mayor said, he was like, Lord, we just thank you for these chickens, and that they're going to bless our family and fill our tummy. And I remember being like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, like,
And
it was just really...
And Mayor was, and one of the things that we've learned is from that is Mayor was praying, he was really praying for those chickens. Like, he was praying for, he was truly praying because he didn't accept it. Like, he wasn't okay with us doing what we were doing. Yeah. But he just wasn't. Maxwell was like, Dad said we're going to do this. We're going to do it. He's doing it. I'm going to do it. Like, you know, my dad said we're going to do this. Mayor was like, he didn't say he didn't agree with it, but he was like, I'm not, you know, he just wasn't there. But he prayed, and he was like, but I know that, you know, we got to eat.
So he was like, it was really.
And Mayor's your second son.
Yes.
Your second oldest.
Okay. Yeah.
How did you guys go from friends interested to buying this thing to now you are full-time farmers?
Yep.
So that was business.
Yep.
Business.
That was straight business.
That was straight business.
It was straight business.
Yeah, so, you know, Derek talked about, like, making the decision to get out. And that was a really big decision because we left a lot of comfort and security and, like, knowing we're going to get paid on this time. Yeah. Holidays, you don't got to work. Oh, but you're going to be gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we had, and we use this phrase, but we became comfortable with being uncomfortable. And, I mean, just in the fact that, you know, because we had adjusted to our life being a certain way. So we knew that to make the decision for Derek to
we were very, very, very comfortable. We had worked very, very hard up until that point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So just imagine in your career, you finally getting to the point where you're like, I made it. Like, we had made it.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say we'd made it.
No, I mean, from a career-wise,
for you,
in my career, I was like at the...
Yeah, Derek was at
You've arrived, and now you can start seeing the fruits of your, your labor.
He was at the point where it's like...
No more trying to prove yourself.
You're going to be a lifer. They use that term in the military, like you're in for life. And there's a lot of really weird things that happened, like, up until that point, because when we made the decision to get out, they made him, like, sign a contract or something.
I had just been put on orders to take to take a team to Peru.
Yeah.
And Paige had just had a baby.
Yep.
And so Paige had just had a baby. My mom was living with us. My mom at this time was she was a multiple stroke victim. So she's living with us now. You know, we're taking care of her. And it was like, not only do I have these kids, you know, my kids, the house and whatever, and now my mom, and, you know, just having a mom, and I'm sure y'all understand this, having that responsibility, you know, it changes. That's a transition for your marriage.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you're bringing in a grown person that's also your mom, who is influential in the whole, like, relationship. I think for men, it's a really big deal because it's your mom and your wife. Like, it's just, I've seen the benefits of us separating when we got married. Like, we needed to do that, as we developed. And it was just like, there was no peace with this. It's like, you're telling me I gotta leave again. My mom is sick. You know, my wife is taking care of my mom. You know, I have kids. Like, it's just, the kids are getting older. The kids weren't, like, they were good, and Paige had figured out how to be single. She figured out how to be a single parent, and she was doing, from my perspective, she was doing a really good job at it. And it was like, so I had gotten comfortable with that, but I had gotten comfortable with Paige being uncomfortable.
Right.
And while I'm seeing this strength, she's seeing, you know, I don't, like, this isn't, and I know, as I'm starting to learn this, I'm like, this isn't right. Like, my wife is a single she's a single parent because I'm not here.
But we understood that, like, getting back to your question just about just like the business side of things, like if we were going to make this decision to make this radical change, we had to make money.
We had to make money.
And it had to be a business.
Yeah.
And so Derek was like, I'll never forget. So my background was marketing. Like, that's what I worked for brands and did, like, social media, as well as, like, marketing strategy. And so Derek was like, okay, well, let's just, name the farm, like, Jackson Family Farm. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm trying to be a household name. Like, I'm not about to do.
She's like, if we're gonna do
this, it needs to be like a legit brand.
I was saying everything had to be business, but when it came to like any creative or anything outside of that, it was like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just thinking about straight numbers, like chickens, like pigs, all those things. Like, that's what I was thinking.
But that's why we balance each other out, because he was focused on, one part of the business. I was also focused on another part. And I knew that there were just things that we needed to put in play in order for the business to be a business.
So after the big full-time thing was, I knew I had a year left.
Yeah.
And I had a year to make it. I had to turn down a promotion. And with turning down the promotion would mean that I would also be exiting the military. Mm-hmm. So in order for me to say I'm leaving behind this career, the money, like, I gotta see it, or else, I'm leaving one thing for, who knows what. So it was like, okay, I'm looking at the numbers. At that point I was just like, I'm just gonna start taking steps in that direction. We started looking for land. A friend of mine, I don't know how we started looking for land, found some land that was available. The closest thing that we could find, we were actually looking closer to Charlotte, but just because we known a little bit about Charlotte. The closest thing we could find was in Durham that would fit what we needed. Sure enough, looked at the land. The land was not everything that we needed. It was actually the opposite of what we needed. I was trying to do pasture poultry, and this was 60 acres of woods. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, why am I going out here to look at this property? But we go out and look at the property, and when we go out to look at the property, and while I'm there, the family that was there before us were doing, it was pasture poultry. It was just they were doing it in the woods. Right. And I mean, they had a lot of chickens out there, and they were doing it. And then they got me to thinking, like, okay, well, you can do this. It's just going to look different. Like, if this is the opportunity, you have to take the opportunities for what they are and just work with them. And sure enough, like, we look at the land, and she had pigs, and I remember, like, man, she got pigs. And she was like, this is like the prime real estate for pigs.
And I never in my life have said, that is a beautiful pig. And I saw those pigs, and I said, that's a beautiful pig.
Yeah. At this point, we had never been to a farm. At that point, the only other farm we had gone to was the grass beef guy. Yeah. Or the grass beef. Sure enough, so we go and we're looking at their farm. We're just like, man, they're doing everything out here, and so we look at it and we're just like, this is it. So we leave, and it was a 2-hour drive away from our house, and talked to a landowner. Everything just like, he was like, hey, if you're interested, the property is going to be available. The lease, they're trying to leave, so the lease will start in January. So if the lease started in January, and I was like, that's exactly a year. Like, that's exactly, we'll have a year from that date to so I was like, okay, well, we're going to do it. Signed the lease on the property. And then we bought 10 pigs.
But then, and then we acquired an existing farm in order to have customers to catapult the business. Yeah. Because we realized, like, we still need to make money, And so, I think it's good we're talking about this, because I feel like a lot of people see our story, but they don't know all the other ins and outs of it. But farming is great, but if you want to do it full time, you really need to have that side of it, like the financial part.
At that, so
together.
At that point we had January 1st we bought 10 pigs. 75 laying hens. We took over an existing flock from the farm that was already there. They were going to leave. And it was like, well, we should just, they were like, are y'all interested? Are y'all going to do layers? And we were like, we hadn't really thought about doing that. We were only going to do pasture poultry, but now we're doing pigs. So, and she was like, well, the eggs, they're laying, they're laying. So she's like, so if you it's this is cash money.
So I started being
you buy the layers
at the kids' school.
Yeah.
They would buy eggs from me
at the school. Wow. So we're selling eggs because we're collecting them. It was so many eggs.
So Derek's going to this farm and collecting eggs, and also we're basically working on this whole plan of what we're doing, getting rid of.
Business plan has started with a name. We had a name. Everything else is we're just working through it as we go.
Yeah.
We knew what worked. We knew pasture poultry. We knew, and then we knew pigs. We knew hogs would work. Well, I knew for sure. We knew chicken. We knew that we could sell chicken. Pigs were the other thing that I learned. Okay, well, pigs, are very, very profitable. And with the land that you have, they're very, very profitable for you. That's a benefit for your property. So it was like, okay, we should get pigs. And a buddy of mine talked me into it, so I got the pigs. And
now, wait a minute. You have a farm buddy by this point.
Farm buddy, yes.
Oh,
another military guy. Yes.
He was a homesteader.
He was a homesteader.
Yeah. Or he's still
and he's full-time. He's still full-time now. He's a homesteader.
Full-time military.
Full-time military and, homesteading.
Okay.
He bought pigs. And he was like, I'm going to go on some pigs.
But the way we met him was we got their dogs.
Livestock guardian dogs.
Okay. We needed a dog for the chickens.
For the hens.
So we had the livestock guardian dog at at our house. So the chickens are still. So that's how you met him, from the dog. So
we met him from the dog. Yeah.
He ended up getting pigs through him too.
Yeah. So we weren't gonna do hens. The land had hens on them. The farm that was there was like, hey, and they knew what we were doing. They were like, hey, if you buy these hens, you can you'll start making money right away. And then it'll build your customer base. You could always sell it. They're attractive. They'll bring in other people. Eggs, they draw in people. So if you want, you could totally whatever. And I mean, they were so gracious. I mean, they were just really good people to know. And the hens were they were really good farmers. So at this point, we got the hens. They were like, but you're gonna need dogs. It's like, we need dogs. So then we found dogs. We found some dogs, and then we found the dogs. When we got the dogs, met the farmer, and we met the guy, and he was like, hey, well, I'm getting some pigs. You want some pigs? And that's how military people are. We don't know each other. I talked to this dude one time or two times. He was like, we're going to do dogs. I'm going to buy your dogs. He sends me a text message like, hey, dude, I don't know if you're interested, but this is the first time I've ever talked to him outside of dogs. He said, I'm buying some pigs. You want some pigs? And he was like, we'll get a really good deal on it. And I was like, okay, how many do we have to get? What's the minimum? And he was like, I think we can get, at a minimum, if we get 10 at least, we'll get a good deal on them. And he was like, but I'm thinking about doing 10. So if you do at least 5, we'll get a good deal on 15. And I was like, okay, well, cool. I was like, well, I mean, I had read anyway. I was like, if you don't do, at this time I'm reading about pigs now. And they're like, well, what's the difference in doing, 3 or 5 pigs? You should just do 10 pigs. And I was like, well, if he's going to do 10, I might as well do 10. We can get a better deal on it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do 10. He was like, well, I'm going to do 5. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, man, that's messed up. Anyway, he was like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. He started having second thoughts about it, right? Because he had never raised pigs either. And but he had the trailer. I didn't have a trailer. He had the trailer, so it worked out. And he was like, I'll pick him up and do everything. You just come pick up the trailer and, we'll learn this. And we did. We actually learned it together. And, how to do this thing. And sure enough, we got the pigs. At this point, I mean, we got hens, we got pigs, we have eggs, but we're still not making much money because we're out of chicken at this point. And we're like, okay, well, the market, we need to get into a market. At this point, I got 11 months before I leave. So I hadn't told the military yet. But I know I'm counting down the time. I know how much time I have. At this point, we're like, okay, like Paige said, we're going to go full in it. In order for us to go full in it, we need more numbers. We need more customers, but in order to have customers, we need inventory. So I was going to a bunch of business courses and like, trying to like learn more about business and like, just growing a business. And at the business, they were like, hey, buy, maybe try buying a business. Like, and I heard that, I was like, buy a business. That's interesting. I'm gonna look into it. How can I buy a farm? I already tried that. People don't want to sell farms. It's hard to buy farms. And straight up, we don't have the money for it. But then we found a farm that was ready to get out.
Yeah. And
they were like assets. And they were like, we're trying to just sell all of our hard assets. And I remember being like, okay, like look into it. We looked into it, and this farm had been around for 7 years. Selling at 3 farmers markets. They had a breeding program, they had like 6 sows, and they're doing a lot of stuff. Like they're doing they've grown a market for themselves. And so, we talked to them and go look at everything, and the numbers made sense, and it was like, let's do it. We bought the business. In a week, we were at the farmer's market. Like we're now at a farmer's market. And during this whole time,
inventory as well.
They did.
They did.
Yes, and
it was good.
We weren't gonna buy it though. That was the thing. We couldn't afford it. I told Paige, I was like,
but the agreement was that we were going to take the inventory.
Yeah,
so COVID, but this is all in the midst of COVID.
Wow.
So we spring break hits and I remember this because like we were still kind of like getting ready for the transition, packing orders, making deliveries, just figuring out all the stuff.
Yeah.
And then we realized people start getting really fearful about what's happening with COVID.
And during this time, I still have a job.
Yeah.
Paige is.
You're running.
Paige still has a. Paige is working.
I'm working.
Kids are in school.
Oh, wow.
We still have our life.
I'm working.
So I'm going. At this point, I'm commuting to the farm to take care of the hens because they're on the farm and the pigs. They're at the farm. And there's a bunch of stories in there with first 10 getting pigs out of a livestock trailer with kids on New Year's Eve. It was just a bunch of stories in there, crazy stuff. So I'm commuting back and forth, going to the farm to pick up eggs, tending to the animals there, coming back, doing my work stuff, doing family stuff. Now we done bought this farm who has farmers markets,
right?
Who also has deliveries. So now at this point, I tell my job, I'm gonna be leaving. I rejected the promotion, all this stuff, and it was a big deal, and it was just a lot of people were upset. But they were just like, okay, you're leaving. There must be a reason behind why you don't want to do this anymore. And it worked out in our favor, and I was able to. They gave me the time that I needed to run my business. They were just like, all right, well, we expected you to be in Peru, but since you're not going to go, we don't really have anything for you to do. So, just do what you need to do to get your life. However, they thought that I was going to come back. They were like, he's going to come back. Until they came to the house and they started seeing, wait a minute, this dude, like, you got chickens in your front yard. Like, you bought he's leaving. He's really not coming back. So now we're doing farmers markets. We're doing deliveries.
But then COVID's happening.
And then COVID happened.
Why does that mean? I would think sales go up.
COVID, they did.
Okay, but we acquired this business with a lot of inventory. So the assumption was like, okay, well, this is good. It sinks kind of having less inventory, but it'll be good because this will help us with,
we couldn't afford. We needed the hard assets.
Yes.
We could not afford the inventory.
We also could not afford the
inventory. Couldn't do both.
But when we started working with the business that we were acquiring, because we had like a period of like just working together.
Yeah,
like
a transition period.
We're going to have a transition period.
Yeah.
COVID was happening. Everyone and their mom wanted to buy beef shares. Everybody wanted to buy
all shares.
All shares that were available, they wanted to buy them. And then the people that we knew through selling eggs found out that we had inventory and they were like, we'll buy it. We'll buy what you have.
The floodgates open.
It really just worked out in our favor because it was like networking through our kids' school, whatever it was, just people that knew us and they knew that we were doing this, they wanted to support us. And so that on top of the customer base that we
saw real fast that market, we had a market. Like we had an established market. Wow. I felt peace at leaving my job.
Yeah.
But it was also another potential problem was we sold out of inventory, all of that inventory, in 2 weeks.
We sold out of it.
Oh,
Wow.
It was 2 weeks. It was all
fast.
gone.
And like you couldn't afford it was enough that you couldn't
It
afford
paid,
to buy it.
But the farmer was able to make so
she left
made
in a good place.
she left in a very good place.
She left in a really good place. And I mean,
it was a problem for her in the beginning
It was a problem,
because she
but
was
we
like,
helped.
"What am I going to do with this
We helped with it,
inventory?
though.
Like, you don't if y'all can't afford it, we were going to sell it.
It was
I
okay.
just couldn't. Like, it was just like, well, I
you
just
couldn't
can't
keep the profits of it, basically.
Exactly.
You had to
So
pass it on to them.
exactly.
Okay.
So it was like
It worked out.
it worked out. You
It
know,
worked out
she
for
sold through all of
everybody.
her inventory. We met a lot of new people. We made a lot of connections, like really fast.
Yeah.
Like it just catapulted us. So
It really
at this
did.
point, they were like, "Well, that farm, you know," and at this point, we have a lot of inventory in the chute. Like it's coming up. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, we just gotta, you know, it just worked out. It worked out really well for our first year of business, and like at that point, it was like. We need to move to the farm because we need more. Like at that point we went from, you know, only having 10 pigs to 10 feeder pigs to like, I think we got like 20, 30 plus feeder
From the
piglets
farm.
from that farm.
Wow. You upped it all.
Yeah.
Everything was like increased.
Everything increased.
Which was what we needed.
Yeah.
So again, like it really
Season was
worked out.
starting. Pasture poultry finally is coming around.
We did a chicken
The
CSA.
whole
Yeah.
reason for
Why,
all of
right?
this.
All of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
We still didn't have anywhere to do it though, because there was no cleared land. So, and we were looking for a house because it was like we're still commuting,
Right.
and it's like, okay, well, we need somewhere to live. Can't
So
live
we
on the
moved in
farm.
Amy's place.
Yes.
in
Yep.
Whistler. We
Met
moved in
Amy and
Amy's
Josh.
place.
Okay.
They wanted to transition.
They were
South.
leaving
Yep.
home. Yeah, they were going home.
It worked
It was a
out.
small house. Really, we
Very,
were
very-
making it work.
Yep.
And
Clear
that's-
pasture.
We had clear pasture.
So the farm that you bought wasn't Blue Whistler then.
No.
That was somebody else.
It was
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
else.
Oh,
It
in
was
my
another
mind I was
farm.
thinking
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was Amy.
We knew the
no,
same
no.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Okay.
in the same
Well, perfect.
circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you could do that at Amy at
Yep.
Amy's
Yeah.
former place.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because she had
Yeah.
clear pasture, so
Yeah.
it was just perfect for a pasture poultry
Okay.
production.
Operation. Yeah.
So
And
I can't believe this was just 2 years ago.
I know
2 years. Yeah,
because
it was.
I feel like I guess that's
Are y'all
crazy.
all right now? Are y'all successful?
Yeah. We've been
I mean,
successful.
I think every business has growing pains, but we're
Yeah.
still.
From a success standpoint.
But from a success standpoint,
You
yeah,
haven't gone
I'd
back to the
say-
military.
Oh no, like not even. So even like no, like
You
it's
have
not
to
even
shave
an
his
option.
beard.
Yeah, he can't shave his beard.
Yeah.
So okay, so to sum it up
Yep.
and to wrap it up, looking back, what has made all the struggle worth it? It's not easy what you've done.
It's still not easy either.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not because
Well,
like
then
you
what's
said,
your hope? Let's go there.
yeah.
What's
that's-
your hope
Yep.
to make this struggle worth it?
Our time.
Yeah.
It's just the time that we have together is just even if we're not together, it's just the fact that we really do own our time.
Yeah.
So every decision that we make for our it revolves around our family.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do that in the beginning when we first started farming. And while there is a difference between, what we do, and we would say this in the beginning that we weren't homesteaders. We weren't homesteading, and we weren't.
No.
We missed, and now we are establishing our homesteading. I would say our homesteading roots, as in, when I say it was about business, it was business. Everything was run like a business. We went from I was making chicken tractors to finding a chicken tractor manufacturer that can manufacture something that is prime, that is easy to move, that's efficient, that can house as as many birds as possible, that won't fly in the wind, that won't from a cost benefit standpoint, everything was wait, does that make sense financially? No, then we're not going to do it. Okay, does that make not? I have we have this passion for dairy cows. The dairy cow purchase was a homesteading. We are starting to establish. Wait a second,
You get a
there
dairy
is
cow
more to
changes
this.
things. That
We're not
changes
just
a lot of
farmers.
things.
We're not just
Right.
market farmers, this is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
We're like,
There's a difference.
and now we're living this lifestyle of, well, I'll say this. You people ask the question about conventional farmers, and they say, "Man, I don't understand. How these farmers are able to do this. They get in these tractors and they plow these fields, and they spend hours and hours just sitting in the seat while this tractor drives and do all this work, and we don't understand how there is a lost connection." And I don't think there's a lost connection. I think that they just view it as just business. Like that's just it, and they don't understand that. If only they just got out of the tractor and they walked and they walked their fields and they and they didn't use their tractor as much. And I say tractors, we don't have a tractor, but I've learned a lot of stuff from not having a tractor. It takes a lot longer to get stuff done. But the other benefit is that it takes a whole lot of time.
Longer.
But the other thing is, it's like when it comes to like safety and stuff like that, or like putting people, it's just we don't have our farm is super safe. Like we don't have a bunch of machinery.
You're not afraid that your kid's gonna get run over.
Exactly.
When he gets on the tractor, I freak out. I'm like, "Where's the kids? They got to back up." It's the whole thing.
Like and we like that's one of the things that we have been like, "Oh man, like this is cool right now." But we're like we're gonna get a tractor. We need a tractor. We're gonna get a tractor.
We're getting a tractor.
But however, with not having it, it's the things that have kept us grounded. Yes, because it could have easily just been like, we're gonna go super commercial because we've had the opportunity
take out a bunch of loans
to be like
exactly that we can't afford.
That was the route that we were on.
But we're not doing that. I mean, I think we've taken a step back in some ways.
And the time, the time that we have our time is important to us.
Yeah.
And just having the ability to say, we're gonna go to the roast this weekend, like, and just to be able to, and this is a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice in a number, like it's a sacrifice for things that we support. And then it's a sacrifice, we sacrifice things as in having to bring people to the farm, to look after things. But these are all decisions that we can make. And they're like, we have the choice to do it. And I think that that's one of the things that gives us hope. I don't want to do anything else because I'm afraid that I will lose my time. And this lifestyle allows me, the benefit to, choose what we do with our time. Like all of it, we're just now, I would say we're babies in homesteading. Like we really are. We're still learning, we're gonna plant some actual seeds this year. We don't know what yet. We're gonna plant some seeds this year, like actually in the soil. Which is a big deal because I've always wanted to do this, and we haven't planted anything. And
I have some
everything's
broccoli
livestock
starts that you can take home.
Yeah, we got some broccoli for you. You be careful because you started with chickens to eat for yourself, and then all your friends wanted to buy some. So now you have this dairy cow.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're after you for that raw milk. Before you know it, you're gonna have a raw milk farm and a garden too.
Yeah, that is the That's the thing that comes with it. And then it's just choosing, like, choosing, wait a second.
Well, they say
we don't want to take on too much.
Choose your hard. So
Yeah, chose your heart. Well, thank you guys so much.
I know. I feel like we could literally
We're gonna
talk
have
for
to do
another
a part
4
2,
hours.
of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been great.
Oh, and folks want to find you. They can go to Grass-Grazed all over the internet.
Yeah,
all over.
www.grassgrazed.com on Instagram, Facebook.
I
YouTube.
highly recommend the Instagram. They do lives on there.
Those are fun.
And let me tell you, I fell in love with them watching y'all's lives. Seriously.
Real talk.
I'm like, Justin,
Real talk.
these people,
With
they're like
Paige and
doing this. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I really like them.
All right, everybody go check them out. Thanks.